Actually, we'll hand it over to Michelle and Joe, who are the chair and vice chair.
Perfect.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Joe Albritton. I'm the chair of this CTA AD Advisory Committee. I'm going to welcome everyone to our third quarter advisory committee meeting, which is beginning at 1:35 p.m. Mariah actually stole the thunder of my housekeeping tips, but I just want to reiterate to always identify yourself when you're talking. I greatly appreciate that. With that said,
Actually, we'll hand it over to Michelle and
Michelle Lee to go through the roll call.
Forgot I'm muted. Sorry. Thanks, Joe. This is Michelle. Hi, everyone. Happy to see everyone's friendly faces. We're going to first do roll call. So I'm going to call on your name. You say here. And also, if you wouldn't mind doing a quick visual description and maybe the organization or whatever you represent. So first off, Mary Abramson.
I am here and I'm representing myself. I don't represent in particular any organization, but of course I'm advocating for all blind and visually impaired people.
Oh, and can you do a quick visual description for those of us, who might not be able to see you?
I'm a short female with brown hair and what else about me? I'm Caucasian. And I try to smile.
Thanks. Next up, we have Joe Albritton.
Hi, good afternoon again, everybody. I am an advocate for people with disabilities and blind and visually impaired especially. I am about 6'2". I not sitting down, of course. I have short, dark hair. And I'm a male Caucasian.
Perfect. Thank you. Next up, we have Pamela Bergman. Berman?
Hi, yes, it's Pamela Berman. I'm here with Guide Dogs for the Blind. I wish I had my mask on because it says smiling. I'm smiling. That's what I thought of when Mary said smiling. I don't know. I'm 5'5", 110 pounds. Not really. I don't know. I haven't seen myself in so long. Brown hair, short. I'm just an average gal.
Sounds great. Thanks, Pamela. Next up, we have Doreen Bogus.
Hi, Doreen Bogus. I'm here representing the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities. I'm female, Caucasian, blondish hair with a little bit of gray and white. I'm, what's it called? Wearing a greenish, bluish sweater. Open like cardigan with a gray dress, and I'm sitting in a chair at my office, in my cubicle, and there's, I believe, a yellow wall behind me, and my hair is back in a ponytail with a headband as well.
Awesome, thank you. And next, Bridget Heyman, and she's excused, so she's absent today. After Bridget is Whitney Hill.
Hi, Whitney here. I'm representing Sport Nonprofit, and I'm also with LCM Architects. Visual description, I am an African-American female wearing a black hoodie with short black curly hair. Pretty simple.
Thank you. Next, we have Robin Jones.
Hello. Sorry, I'm not on camera. I'm on vacation this week, and where I'm at has lousy internet. So if I put my camera on, I freeze. So I'm not going to do that. But I do have a picture showing, and I have short. I'm a white female. I have short red. Well, it depends on the day what color it is, but today it happens to be a reddish purplish color. and I wear glasses. I have black rimmed glasses on and wearing some earrings and a denim jacket.
Thank you. Next, we have Michael Kaiser.
Hi, it's Michael Kaiser. I'm an old white guy with getting grayer and grayer with a hairline that's receding more and more. And I'm in my office with, in the background are a whole bunch of pictures of cars and motorcycles racing. Is that sufficient description, Michelle? I have two adopted kids with mobility disabilities from China. They're both, 18 and 17, and they go to Lincoln Park High School, and they use accessible transportation as much as possible. And we have three adult kids who live in the city. And I'd like to say I'm 6'4", but actually I'm 5'7" and that's me.
Thank you. No, love all the descriptions, you guys. Okay, so next up is me, Michelle Lee. I am an Asian woman with long hair, need a haircut because it's the pandemic and I haven't gone to salon still. I am sitting in my bedroom, but the virtual background is, Chicago. And I am representing myself. I advocate for people with disabilities. I use a wheelchair myself and take the CTA religiously in the pre-pandemic times. Haven't really been outside of my 4-block radius, since things have started, but hope to return to the CTA soon. And let's see, next up, Nicholas Robertson.
My name is Nicholas Robertson. I'm representing the blind of Illinois, specifically Chicago, as the blind take the CTA on a daily basis to get from point A to point B. I am average height and average build. I have brown hair, but right now my head is shaved. I have a reddish brown goatee with brown eyes. I'm wearing a golf polo shirt that is tricolored. The top third is blue, the middle third is white, and the bottom is gray. I work for the Department of Veterans Affairs Federal Supply Schedule, writing contracts for government hospitals. And it's a pleasure to serve the CTA on its advisory board for persons with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you. And next up, we have Howard Wilson.
Hi, I'm Howard Wilson. You can hear me, right?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay, I'm Howard Wilson. I'm a mature African-American male, very attractive. If I don't say it, who will, I'm 5'8", 5'9" on a good day. I am a member of National Federation of the Blind, but I'm representing myself. And that's it. I'm a retired corporate salesperson.
Thanks, Howard. And then next we have Amy Serpy.
Hi, I'm Amy. I am the ADA manager for our ADA compliance programs for CTA. I have brown hair this week. Let's see. I'm a Caucasian female. I'm about 5'2". Contact lens wearer, sometimes glasses wearer. And if anybody sees me bending over, I am not on my cell phone. I am trying to take notes. So just don't think I am not paying attention.
Thanks, Amy. Next, and last but not least, Michael Conley.
So I'm Michael Conley. I'm the Chief Planning Officer for CTA, and we staff this committee and try to keep you folks able to come together. And I want to thank Mariah for being our host today and keeping us on track. I'm a Caucasian male, 5'10". I'm wearing a white shirt and a green plaid tie. I'm in my office. There's some plants over my shoulder a little bit. I used to have a 4-head. Now I have a 5-head. So it's a physical description of me.
Love it. Thank you. All right. So it looks like we do have a quorum. The only person that is absent is Bridget. And I'll turn it over to Joe.
Thanks, Michelle. This is Joe again. That was a lot of great descriptions, you guys. So thanks for doing that. Before we move to our next agenda item, I'm very pleased to say that we have joining us this afternoon is the new chairman of the CTA Transit Board, Mr. Lester Barclay. And Mr. Barclay, would you like to make some remarks for our group?
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that, and as well to you, Michelle. It's an honor to be here today. I am, let me give my description first. I am 5'10", 200 pounds, a little bit overweight, a little puggy, black hair, brown eyes, and I have a smile most of the time. So that's who I am. But I want to thank you for the opportunity to come before the committee and just, as the new chairman of the CTA board, and just introduce myself and let you know that we're here to listen and to learn. And so I will also like to acknowledge the staff that's here from the CTA, those individuals who work with the CTA to make transit accessible to all citizens of our great city. So I'd like to just first tell you a little bit about myself. I started off first working for the CTA 40 years ago as a summer transit worker, sort of filling in. I was a conductor on the train during my college years. And I remember a gentleman who said, hey, if you do a good job, maybe one day you might be chairman of the board. And fast forward 40 years later, when the mayor reached out and asked me if I would consider taking on that responsibility, and I readily said yes. So I'm excited about the work you do. I was on the Citizens Advisory Board and chaired that. So, I know how important it is for community to have input in public transportation. And like I said, what you say, your thoughts, your deliberations, your comments, they matter a great deal to the authority. And while we can't do everything at one time because we have budget constraints and we have, just things that we aren't able to do, but, your voice matters. And I want you to know that you're always welcome to the Chicago Transit Authority to share your thoughts and your considerations as to the direction that we need to take. It's nothing wrong with challenging us to do better, because we can and we will do better. And so I just want to thank you for the opportunity to meet and greet you. And I know you're probably going to have a great meeting deliberating on certain items and certain agenda items, but I just want to let you know that you have the board's support.
Thank you, Mr. Barclay, for your time and your encouraging words. We look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to sign off, but continue the good work that you're doing on behalf of the citizens of our great city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to our next agenda item, it's going to be announcements. Does anyone on the committee have any announcements of their agencies or organizations that have to do with any kind of activities or upcoming events?
Hi, this is Robin Jones. Oh, sorry.
No,
this
go
is
Robin.
Sorry, this is Robin Jones. And of course, the 31st anniversary of the ADA is coming up. Our office is offering a free poster. If you're interested, the information on getting the poster sent to you is on our website at www.adagreatlakes.org. Also, if you're an organization that is hosting any events or anything like that, we do have some ADA anniversary swag available if you would like to have some, please just contact us. You can use our 800 number, 800-949-4232, or our email, adagreatlakes@uic.edu, and we're happy to send it out to you. We're also hosting an event with the Department of Justice and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, talking about the 31 years of the ADA and some of the major developments under the law and some of the enforcement activities. And that is on July 20th, on Tuesday, July 20th, from 1 to 2:30 p.m. And the registration is available for that. And then we also have another session, our ADA legal webinar series, on the 21st of July, same time, 1 to 2:30 p.m., which is going to review specifically issues around Title III of the ADA and where things have moved in the last 31 years under Title III. So if you're interested, those are just some events that are connected to the anniversary that we would invite you to attend. Then they're free, no cost.
This is Joe. Thank you, Robin, for that very valuable bit of information. Anyone else?
I just wanted to say that Mr. Bates is no longer on the committee, and that position will be replaced probably by the next meeting. So we'll be chatting with our chair and vice chair about that. But I just wanted to let you know.
Okay, thanks, Amy. This is Joe. Any other announcements?
Yeah, this is Doreen from MLPD. Hi, Joe. Hi, Amy. We are encouraging everybody to subscribe to our newsletter, and Amy, I emailed it to you today. I don't know if you received it yet, the subscribe link. But basic, huh? Hello?
No one said anything.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm hearing background noise. Okay, sorry. And our first newsletter was just released, and one of the events coming up is going to be on the 26th. It's a celebration of the ADA at our office, and they're going to also be offering vaccinations for people who are not yet vaccinated and want to be, for individuals 12 plus. So, yeah, but if anyone who wants information on if you want to subscribe to our newsletter, you can go ahead and get in touch with me, and I can email you. Well, it'll be in my signature, but I'll send you an email. You can subscribe to the link, and you can get all sorts of valuable information, such as events coming up throughout the year.
Thanks for sharing that, Doreen. This is Joe again. Any more announcements?
Yes, this is Whitney Hill. I have just a quick announcement. I'm on the board of 3 Arts, which is a wonderful organization here in Chicago that supports artists of color, artists, women artists, as well as artists with disabilities. And so they're having a unique crowdfunding with a match event coming up. And I just highly encourage anyone who's not already familiar with 3 Arts to look at it. They do great work with supporting the disabled community. You can go to 3arts.org. Thank you.
Is it the number 3 or is it the word 3?
It is the number 3.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing, Whitney. This is Joe again. Any more announcements to make from the group? If not, we'll move to our next agenda item. I'm going to turn it back over to Michelle to take us through the approval of the minutes.
Okay, this is Michelle. So next up on the agenda is meeting minutes, and the meeting minutes were sent to members prior to the meeting for review. Does anybody have any changes to the minutes?
No.
Well, I can't. This is Mike Kaiser, and I can't resist saying that since I'm an attorney, in the very last paragraph, ethics training for committee members only, the word council is misspelled.
Oh boy, sorry. This is Amy. I will correct it, and that will be the amendment. Sorry, I didn't catch it.
Perfect. No, thank you.
It's a little silly.
This is Michelle. Hey, we need someone to keep an eye on things, so we appreciate it, Michael. So
I'm glad he read them. What are you talking about?
So
I figured it was a test to see if anybody read them.
Oh.
So this is Michelle looking for a motion to approve the April 12, 2021 minutes as amended. Somebody?
So moved.
And this is that Michael has moved to.
Michael, yep.
And state so that we need a second.
This is Mary. I'll second it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Mary second. And we're just going to do an easy vote. Everybody in favor, just say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? No one opposes. And anyone abstaining? Okay, looks like we have the minutes approved. And I'll turn it back over to Joe.
Thanks, Michelle. Yes, this is Joe again. Our next agenda item is public comments. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Amy Serpy, who, as all of you know, is the manager of ADA compliance programs for CTA. So, Amy, any public comments?
Yes, actually, we do have one public comment. which I will read in its entirety. And here goes. So this public comment is from Kelly Pierce, who is a Chicago resident. Okay. Comments to the Americans with Disabilities Act Advisory Committee of the Chicago Transit Authority for July 12, 2021. I am a blind Chicago resident and attended the electric bus demonstration at the Jefferson Park Transit Center on June 26th. Part of the demonstration included the electric bus departing from the transit center and then returning a few minutes later to the location near where it was before. I observed both the departure and arrival of the bus. The departure of the bus could barely be heard, and I could not hear the arrival of the electric bus. The presence of diesel buses was easily detected by sound. The transit center is a major hub on the northwest side of Chicago where multiple bus routes stop for passengers, so immediate comparison with diesel buses were possible. I shared my observations with Jason House and referenced federal regulations regarding electric vehicles. He is the Assistant Chief Engineer, Vehicle Engineering Electrification for CTA. He took a reading of the ambient noise at the transit center and found the level was 80 dB, which I believe is decibels. Jason House said he contacted a representative of the bus manufacturer Proterra during the demonstration who told them that another transit agency had installed technology for external sounds to warn pedestrian of the bus's presence. A blind pedestrian who cannot visually see the bus would not know that a bus was close if the bus were traveling at slow speeds because the sound of the bus could not be heard over the ambient environmental noise level, increasing the likelihood of a crash. The federal government found silent electric vehicles pose a danger to all pedestrians in a pair of studies. In 2009, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration released the report Incident of Pedestrian and Bicyclist Crashes by Hybrid Electric Passenger Vehicles, with the finding that a hybrid electrical vehicle was 2 times more likely to be involved in a pedestrian crash than a vehicle using an internal combustion engine in situations involving low-speed maneuvers. A 2011 update to the original report titled Incidence Rates of Pedestrian and Bicyclist Crashes by Hybrid Electric Passenger Vehicles. An update offered more data by adding additional years of state crash files, as well as by increasing the number of states included in the analysis from 12 to 16. The analysis was conducted on a total of 24,297 hybrid electric and 1,000,001 internal combustion engine Honda and Toyota selected vehicles in 16 states. A total of 186 and 5,699 hybrid and internal combustion vehicles, respectively, were involved in pedestrian crashes, and a total of 116 and 3,052 hybrid and internal combustion vehicles, respectively, were involved in bicycle crashes. The odds ratio indicate that the odds of a hybrid electric vehicle being in either a pedestrian or bicycle crash are greater, 35% and 57% respectively, than the odds of an internal combustion vehicle being in a similar crash. Sighted pedestrians and cyclists are in danger as well because they walk or turn in front of silent electric vehicles without knowing their close presence. CTA must recognize the increased likelihood of crashes with pedestrians and cyclists from electric vehicles such as electric buses and take strong measures to eliminate the higher crash rate. The measures would include having electric buses emit sounds when traveling at low speeds, Nothing in the Americans with Disabilities Act or its related regulations addresses the increased crash risk posed by electric buses. In 2010, Congress passed the Pedestrian Safety Enhancement Act. It requires new electric cars to make artificial audible sounds when traveling at slow speeds. The law applies only to vehicles under 10,000 pounds, which excludes full-size buses like the kind CTA has. So far, CTA has taken no action with its electric buses to prevent the higher crash rates of pedestrians and cyclists. I urge the ADA Advisory Committee to insist CTA management and board install audible sounds on electric buses to eliminate their higher safety risk. And it's signed Kelly Pierce.
Amy, this is Joe. Thanks for reading that public comment. I just wanted to alert the committee that we are going to discuss the e-buses a little later in the agenda, starting with a facilitator's report. So we'll have plenty of opportunity to discuss the issue there because I believe there's a lot of people have something to say about it. So with that said, Amy, any more public comments?
No, that is all that I received. Thank you.
Okay. With that said, I want to turn it back over to, this is Joe, turn it back over to Michelle to take us through the presentations from CTA staff.
Thanks, Joe. This is Michelle. So first up, we have a presentation titled We're Ready, and then to return to transit. And we have presenting the Brian Steele, the Vice President of Communications. Brian, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. May I provide a visual description?
Sure, that'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah. Brian Steele, Vice President of Communications and Marketing. I am a Caucasian male in my early 50s. I'm as tall as Mr. Kaiser, and like Vice Chair Lee, my hair is a little bit longer than I wish it were. It is dark brown and slicked back. I am sitting in my offices at CTA headquarters, and in the background is a CTA map and a vintage CTA rail car destination sign that's among some of my one of my favorite possessions. Chairman Albritton, Vice Chair Lee, members of the committee, it's very much a pleasure to be before you today. What I'm going to be talking about is something that we are very excited about and something that we waited almost 14 months to start. I am going to take a moment to share my screen, so please let me know when it pops up and is visible to you.
Yes.
There we go.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. As some of you may know, the CTA recently undertook again, long-awaited, long in planning and discussion, marketing and public relations campaign that was really targeting the reopening of the city of Chicago and designed to bring back not only our lapsed customers, but try to maybe encourage new customers to the system, and obviously encourage our current customers to continue to using the system. The goal of the campaign was multifold. Our main purpose was really to let people know that CTA was open for business. As many of you know, the CTA ran as much service as possible throughout the entire pandemic, whereas other major U.S. transit systems did various versions of shutdowns, maybe overnight shutdowns, reduced hours, reduced service. The CTA put out as much service as possible, and that's because there's no question that public transit was absolutely essential during the pandemic for essential workers, for people needing to make necessary trips, to really help people stay connected even when we were in the height of the pandemic. But we also see this campaign as a way to let people know all the great things we're doing to provide a healthy and comfortable commute, reassure them that we're ready to welcome riders back. And I think maybe one of the most important things is to remind people how vital public transit is to the region. Public transit is really part of the fabric of the city. We saw that during the pandemic, and we know that transit really needs to be part of the city's recovery. Our campaign, which we launched in May, is titled When You're Ready, We're Ready. So again, a nod to let people know that when you're ready to begin your return to some of your normal routines, return to the office, a return to recreational activities, to restaurants, things of that nature. We're ready to bring you where you're going. I'm going to go through some of the things that we launched as part of the When You're Ready, We're Ready campaign. One of them you may have seen on the system is an in-system advertising campaign related to a summer fair promotion that we announced several weeks ago actually. CTA put forth a campaign called More Fun, Less Fair that reduces the price of 3 of our most popular fair products. So you can see on the screen that we offered some really attractive discounts to some already very affordable past products. I don't have all the numbers yet, but early returns are suggesting that this has been a very popular promotion. Some of you may have seen in the news last Friday, we announced a 50% jump in ridership since the first of the year. 20% of that jump has occurred since the 1st of May, which is shortly thereafter is when we announced the fair promotion. So this promotion really seems to be doing what it intended, which is getting people to come back to the system and use the system more via the great value that these multi-ride passes offer. If you've been to some of the rail stations, you've seen some new retractable banners that we put up. The goal behind these was to really give customers a reminder right there at the station of all the things that we've been doing to welcome them back. It's kind of hard to see on the screen, but the banner mentions the extensive cleaning that we're doing, the effective air circulation that we have in our vehicles, some of the great rider tools, including our rider dashboard that we developed, and of course, the fact that like all transit agencies and indeed transportation entities throughout the country, we still are following federal and state guidelines and requiring masks. Another ad campaign that we felt was very important to remind our customers is that we are still running, still cleaning. Cleanliness obviously has been a very important thing for our customers. And as you are aware, we have one of the most robust cleaning regimens of any U.S. transit agencies. Vehicles are cleaned before they go into service, while they're in service, at the end of the day, and then they also receive regular deep cleaning. So we wanted to remind customers and direct them to a website to tell them about all the things that we're doing to ensure that cleanliness. A campaign that President Carter put forth a couple weeks ago, Refresh and Renew. This is a station renewal program that is going to touch, it's over 100 stations system-wide. Actually, I think the number is about 125 stations, where we go in, we being the infrastructure department under Mr. Mooney, go in and do really a blitz of improvements to the stations. Things like replacing lighting, doing new painting, fixing any problems with the concrete or surfaces, really to make them a welcoming and attractive environment, because first impressions count in transit. And when people are coming into the station, we want them to see a clean, well-lit station that's in really good condition. So we developed a series of signs, sandwich boards that we put out before we begin the work and during the work, so that people know that this is a holistic investment that CTA has been making in this station renewal effort. One of the funnest things we did to welcome customers back was deploy what we call Welcome Back Ambassadors. We had a cadre of volunteers across various CTA departments that we deployed to rail stations in brightly colored t-shirts, resembling, not coincidentally, the colors of our rail lines. And really, they were there to welcome people back to the station, to thank them for taking transit, to hand out some postcards with information similar to the banners that you saw earlier that covers all the things that we're doing to welcome the customers back. And really, even though our ambassadors were wearing masks, you can tell that they're smiling behind those masks. One of the things that we really wanted to do is let people know that we truly do appreciate their using the system. You know, some of those people were using the system throughout the entire pandemic. Some of them were just coming back for the first time in a long time. Either way, we wanted to let them know that we were very happy that they chose CTA. We've upgraded our system signage. Those of you who have been on the system, you've seen that over the last, it's 15 months now, we've had various iterations of signage reminding people of things like maintaining distance, wearing masks, following proper health protocols. Well, obviously the evolution of that health guidance has changed. So we came up with stickers that don't explicitly talk about the 6-foot spacing that we all needed 6, 8, 12 months ago, but really just about making space. And you can see all the characters are wearing their face masks. We are also working to get people outside of CTA to tell the good CTA story. It's one thing for CTA to say about ourselves, we're doing a good job and we care. It's quite another to have external stakeholders say the same things. And working with our executive office, Molly Poppy, I believe, is on this call. Molly helped us work with members of the business community, civic groups, people in the education realm. If you can have a chance to visit our website, we've placed some quotations from some of those people that are really supportive of not only CTA specifically, but public transit in general. Echoing to what I said a little bit earlier about public transit being just an absolutely essential part of the region's recovery, many of those external stakeholders are saying the same things, and it's helpful that the public is hearing from their voices as well as CTA's voice. One of the things that we're going to be looking to do in the future is an event with those aforementioned business entities. We participated in one maybe a month or two ago with some of the business groups, but we're looking to do another one with a much larger audience to really kind of reach directly some of the employees and vendors of these businesses to tell them firsthand about all the things that we're doing, again, to provide that healthy and comfortable commute. For the first time in a long time, the CTA is exploring paid media, aka advertising. We've always been very conscious about advertising here at the CTA. As a public entity, we take very seriously our stewardship of the public dollars. And we want to make sure that when we go forth with advertising, we're doing so in a prudent and responsible way. So we are putting together a plan. Details are still to be determined, but we're putting together a plan that would really help us reach some of our lapsed writers. Lapsed, obviously, meaning they're not back on the system yet. So really our primary target is some of those 9-to-5 workers who haven't come back to the office yet. And maybe their employer wants them to come back to the office, but they're saying, well, I'd rather stay at home and still telework. So we're going to be developing a series of print and digital advertisements to put forth to really remind people about the importance of CTA and about how critical CTA will be to the recovery of the region. And we're looking at not only the large legacy media outlets, but we're looking at community media, digital media, and bilingual media also. To accompany that, we are doing some things in-house, including a campaign that my colleagues and I came up with, the tagline, "Let's get you back there." We know that as the city reopens, people are going to go back to the things that they used to do. They're going to go back to cultural institutions. They're going to go back to shopping districts. They're going to go back to outdoor dining. So we came up with this campaign that has a number of different visual images, but they all share the "Let's get you back there" tagline. And it says, when you're ready, we're ready. Let CTA get you back there. It's been a minute since we've been able to get out and do the things that we love. For those of you who don't know that, "it's been a minute" is something that the younger, more millennial and Gen Z generation use. So we wanted to put that into our advertising. Another campaign, very similar in scope and desire, is "Hello, Old Friend." We developed some ads with a bunch of images of various cultural institutions, the Art Institute, the Field Museum, the Lincoln Park Zoo, and really reminding people that as you go back and rediscover and revisit these old friends, that the CTA really is your best and most affordable option to get you there. We are also considering a Customer Appreciation Day. I mentioned before that our ambassadors have done a great job of thanking our customers and welcoming back to the system. One of the things that really resonates with our customers is what we call our heritage fleet. It's a small collection of vintage trains and vintage buses. We've used them before for various events and activities, and we're looking to do one sometime in the third quarter of this year, where we put our buses on display. In past years, we've put them directly on Daily Plaza, and then maybe run some of our heritage fleet trains on the system. These vintage vehicles really resonate with young and old customers. Kids love them, parents love them, seniors love them. They're really a way to tell our customers thank you, show them that we appreciate them, remind them not only of the history and heritage of the CTA, but also remind them of, again, and I know I've said this multiple times, but really how important transit is to the region's recovery. So it's a way to celebrate not only our past, but also our present and our future. And that's all that I have in my presentation. I'm happy to entertain any questions or comments. And once again, I very much appreciate the time this afternoon.
This is Michelle. Thank you so much, Brian. That was like super comprehensive, and love all the different prong approaches you're taking. I definitely am one of those target market people that I haven't returned to the CTA yet, so this is enticing to me. But I had a quick question before I call on other members for their questions. I do appreciate all the different media campaigns you're having. I'm wondering if there's been some intentionality around including maybe images of people with disabilities, or just like other just because you said there was a lot of cartoons and things like that, which is great, but maybe just like an icon of a person in a wheelchair or somebody with a cane, or, it's always nice to be included in the media as well, like from that perspective. So that's my question.
I think that's an excellent idea. I know that we had some creatives in which we always try to show the diversity of our ridership whenever we do any creative campaigns. There are so many versions of the in-house ads. I can't honestly say with certainty that we have included those images. However, I will ensure that we do. The great things about the digital ads is they are dynamic. We are constantly updating them. For example, I didn't show it in the presentation, but on the More Fun, Less Fair, there are multiple versions of it. And so we came up with the idea, the Art Institute was hosting the Monet exhibit, I believe through mid-June. So for a couple weeks, we had more Monet, less money. So we only ran that for 2 weeks, and then we switched that out for something else. So again, the advertisements are dynamic, and your suggestion of including more diverse images is one that we will absolutely put forth.
Thank you. This is Michelle. Anyone else with questions?
Yeah, this is Michael Kaiser, and I certainly endorse what Michelle is suggesting. I'm wondering about the effectiveness of cleaning, particularly when we've received a lot of information indicating that surface cleaning is not really very important, other than for maybe letting people know that you care about the cleanliness. But I'm reading that it doesn't really make a difference in terms of transmission.
You are correct in your comment, Mr. Kaiser. It's part of the reason why we promoted not just the cleaning, but also the air filtration. That's been an aspect that a lot of transit agencies throughout the country have worked to address. I don't remember which HEPA rating, which is the filtration rating that our buses and trains have, but they're among the they're on the higher end of those in the industry. Related to the comment about cleaning, I absolutely agree with you that cleaning has not been, surfaces have not been a nexus for the transmission of the coronavirus. However, cleanliness in general is a really important aspect to our customers. We heard that even pre-pandemic, that when people go into a station or on a train and the bus, they want it to have. They don't want to see litter. They don't want to see debris. They don't want to see the spilled, cans of Coke and things of that nature. So cleanliness has always been one of those things that optically is really important to our customers. And we hear that a lot. A lot of the comments that we get, even pre-pandemic, to our customer service line was about, hey, my Red Line train was full of trash today, or I saw that somebody spilled a milkshake on a seat and now I can't sit down. So agree that there's not necessarily the direct connection to the coronavirus, but again, reminding customers the resources and the priority that we put on cleaning, we believe is a really important thing for our customers.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Whitney Hill. I have, bear with me, I have 3 questions for you. So the first question is, where else is that welcome back information on that banner? Where else is that provided? Like what other media formats? Because I'm sure that the welcome back ambassadors can answer some things, but I was also wondering, like, is that also all the information like concisely online somewhere or in a digital format?
That is correct. transitchicago.com/ready. For 15 months, that URL, that web address was transitchicago.com/coronavirus. And that's where we put all of our information about everything that we were doing. Cleaning, social distancing, rear door boarding, back when we did that a year ago, the ridership dashboards, everything. We put everything there so it would be a one-stop shopping resource. But as the city reopened, we made the decision, this is no longer about the coronavirus. While the virus is still here and we still need to take important protocols, this is more about the safe and responsible reopening of the region. That's when we changed the website address to /ready. So all that information is still there. You can click on, they're called tiles. I think we have 9 or 10 different tiles about different subject matters. So like Mr. Kaiser had the question earlier about cleaning, you can click on the cleaning tile and you can see all the things we do about cleaning and air filtration. You can click on the ridership dashboard and you'll see the rail and bus ridership dashboards that we put together to help people make their transit decisions. So in addition to the website, we also have this information on a variety of digital ads that are on the video screens across the system. I showed you just a handful of them, but in addition to the ones I showed you, there are, I think right now, if I remember correctly, there are something close to 20 to 24 different versions of things related to what we're doing to provide a healthy and safe and comfortable commute. So the cleaning, the social distancing, the air filtration, the ridership tools, all the things that I mentioned earlier. So not only is it on the website where people, have to actively seek out, but we proactively put it on our digital screens. We have it on posters and placards throughout the rail system. We have them on car cards, on our trains and buses. We push them extensively via social media. Any of you who follow our various social media channels will see that once a day, if not more, on each of our channels, we're putting out information about everything that we're doing. So we're trying to broadcast that information as much as possible.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for that. And my second question is, so I'm the chair of the Wayfinding Subcommittee at CTA, and in our past subcommittee meeting, it came up about the workers or transit users who are returning back to the system but might have mental health concerns. And so I know that in some stations there are the suicide hotline placards. But I was wondering though, like in your advertisement, I guess, was there any thought about how to address just like the maybe reality or not so fun parts of people and going back to what this new normal is? Because I know that mental health during the past year in the pandemic has definitely been a hot button topic for people who have previously had concerns with their mental health, but also with people who were experiencing severe mental health concerns for the first time. And so I just was wondering about if there was going to be any mention of that in advertisement. And then to the third question to piggyback off of that was, in your advertisements, are you going to talk about at all or just talk up about CTA's accessibility. Because like Michelle mentioned, and I know for myself, I know a number of people within the disabled community, there is a reluctance to get back on the transit, full time or, even part time. And so I think, I know for me, like just reassurance and the adverts I saw that like talked up that how accessible the stations were or whatever would, I think it would hit the right ears to the people who needed that reassurance. So I guess those are my two back-to-back questions.
Okay. Well, thank you, and excellent questions on both fronts. Related to the first one, we have not had any discussions about any advertisements or messaging related to the issue of mental health. It's, as you know, obviously it's a very complex discussion. We do have a strong partnership with the Department of Family and Support Services at the City of Chicago, and we have a very strong partnership with them as it relates to outreach to individuals with housing challenges. We've done, and I believe this committee knows about it, there's been outreach missions that DFSS has held with social service agencies throughout the city at various locations throughout the system. So I think that would probably be the entity that we would have that discussion with. I do not know what current messaging DFSS or the city or even a private entity is doing related to the issue. Yeah, you did mention the suicide prevention campaign. We were among one of the first major U.S. agencies to place that signage throughout our rail system. That was something that President Carter tasked us with a couple years back, and we began a program to make sure that they distributed. So I think the answer to that question would be, I think it's an issue worthy of discussion. I do think it is a complex issue that we would want to look to entities like DFSS, like some of the social service agencies, to help inform an approach to that type of messaging. To your second question related to accessibility, I think that's a great idea as well. We obviously the CTA is very proud of its efforts related to accessibility. The ASAP plan is just one of myriad things that this agency has done, and it's something that just I handle. Part of my job here is to handle media inquiries that come into the CTA. And when we announced ASAP in 2018, I'm not going to say my phone rang off the hook, but there was more than a few phone calls saying, "Wow, how did Chicago do that?" And I said, well, that's President Carter's leadership, along with the input of the ADA Advisory Committee, and other stakeholders. Like it was a great partnership, right? Everybody understood the importance of it. So, related how it would relate to the one you're ready, I think that's a great idea to remind people that even though ASAP has clearly identified work that we have to do, as you're aware, we have of the large legacy rail systems, we have the most accessible system of any of the large legacy systems. Cities like New York obviously have a long way to go to catch up to us. Boston, if I recall, is pretty close to us. SEPTA is still a bit distant from us, but we don't judge our progress by how we're doing compared to our competitors. It's always nice to be ahead of them, but that's not how we judge the success. Obviously, the success is our continued investment and commitment. One of the things that we're really looking forward to is when we begin the actual work on the first ASAP project, the Austin Green Line. But again, as it relates to your comment about promoting that, I think that's a great idea to add to our stable of the dynamic advertisements that we have running on our system, to let people know that not only is transit back and is transit an important part of the recovery, but the CTA's commitment to accessibility will help people make the trips that they need and want to take.
Thank you so much for answering my questions. That answered everything really completely. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Hey, Brian, this is Joe. Just to piggyback on what Whitney brought up about people with mental health issues, maybe you, as far as getting some advertising out and toll-free numbers and so on, it might be good to work with the Chicago Department of Public Health and even an organization like NAMI, N-A-M-I, National Alliance for People with Mental Illness. Just some suggestions, if you wanted to go take that road.
Those are great suggestions, Mr. Albert, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I forgot to mention, I mentioned DFSS, but I should have also mentioned CDPH. I can speak personally. Prior to the pandemic, I didn't really know who my comms colleague was at CDPH, and we are now literally best friends. We chat a lot. There's a ton of coordination between that agency and the CTA. So thank you for that.
This is Michelle. One last question, I guess, before we let you go. Sorry. So I'm wondering if how do I ask this? Mainly, I don't know. Sorry. I've lost my train of thought, of course. So it'll come to me. Do you mind if we reach back out? If we have more questions, that's my question. Then there you go.
Please, I encourage you to do so. I'm easy to find, bsteele, Steele, at Transit Chicago, or you can email Amy. But yeah, any question that you have today, tomorrow, next week, next month, happy to answer.
Great. Thank you so much. This is Michelle, and we appreciate your time. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Very much appreciated.
And next up on the agenda, we have a presentation about the 7000 series railcar update. And I'm going to turn it over to Grant Macy and Robert Kilba.
Okay, this is Bob Kilba. I'm going to take the presentation. Grant's here to help support. I'm in my office here at Skokie Shops, which is our main rail shops. And I'll use the description. I say I have brown hair, but it's a little bit more gray than brown. I have a mustache, and I've been with CTA for 30 years. So that's why it's gray and not brown anymore. So let me, we got a little presentation on the new 7000 series cars. I will share my screen if I could figure out how to do that. Here it is.
This is Mariah. Let me know if you need me, and it doesn't look like you do.
So let me get it in. We have enough experience with Zoom meetings here. We always do a ton of them. 7000 series, kind of in a summary, we have a contract for up to 846 rail cars with a base quantity of 400 cars that are awarded. The company is a company called CRRC, which is a Chinese company, but they established a factory in the Chicago Hegewisch neighborhood to do final assembly of the cars. So the cars are built partially in China. They ship the body shells to the US by boat and truck. And then they make it here to Hegewisch, where individuals living in the Chicagoland area finish the assembly of the rail cars. We currently have 10 prototype rail cars in service. They're in what we call revenue service now. So we're carrying passengers on the red line currently, and then going to yellow, and then going to purple from now until about August 16th, I believe it is. And then we're going to go into blue line after that. So we're just running it like they're any other cars, back and forth. We have people on board to kind of watch how they're performing and see if there's any glitches. Prototype test for us is very important. It takes about a year to do, so we do some what we say qualification testing first, test various systems and things like that, and then when we're confident that they're good to go, we put them out on this revenue service testing to carry passengers. And as always, when you have a prototype, you find issues and you find things that may go wrong. That's the whole point. You know, you get the bugs corrected on 10 cars before you have 400 more. So where I was at, we're in revenue service test, and then production car deliveries are expected probably late this fall, maybe early 2022. And the cars come in like about 10 a month is like the delivery rate. So it'll take a while to get the full 400. Next slide I'm talking about is general arrangement of the cars. You know, we work with a pattern that's very similar to every other rail car we have, same basic size, dimensions, same basic door locations, things like that. We try to keep them as consistent as we can. Seat arrangement's a little different. You know, we have 37 seats. We have vertical seat back stanchions, so there's a lot of grab rails and grab straps to be able to navigate through the train. We try to keep each of the vertical metal poles like within arm's length of each other, so you could grab from one to the other and have a good secure handhold as you go. And there's also the horizontal overhead stanchion, which you can hold on to continuously throughout the train. New feature is we had added an additional stanchion bar with swing down metal handles in between the number 1 and 2 doors, which are kind of the doors closer to the front of the train. So right in the middle of the aisle is that kind of big open area. So there's sometimes nowhere to grab onto, but if you're in the middle of the aisle, you can reach straight up now and grab those handles and swing down bars. Gives a little extra support. Here's a photo of the general arrangements. Basic difference is we have a blue front end, little bit of change in contour of the front end, some LED accent lighting around the headlights. Even the side body skin is, for people who would notice is, the rib arrangement's a little different in side body skin. It's a little wider spaced, gives it a different effect, but very similar to other cars. This slide we're talking about seat arrangement. We have 2 wheelchair securement areas, pretty much the same. If anybody's familiar with the 5000 series, same kind of position of where those things are. This image that I have on the screen is, and the left-hand side is kind of the front of the train, the cab, and the right-hand side is the back. So going from, I'm going to start at the head to work my way back. So in the front section of the car, forward of the doors, between the front end and the cab, it's aisle facing seats. So you have 4 seats on each side facing in towards the aisle. Then you come to the area between the doors. That's where I mentioned that horizontal stanchion with spring down bars are. So directly stationed center line in the car, center line between the doors, there's a bar. So if you're tall enough, you reach straight up, you can grab that bar. Next section behind the doors is the wheelchair securement areas. And the center section has been designed to, if anybody's familiar with the 3200 series, they got an arrangement called a 2-1 seating arrangement. So there may be 2 seats on one side, 1 seat on the other, and they kind of alternate. So, and that we made that happen with the wheelchair securement locations also. So there's a 2 passenger flip-up seat on one side and a single passenger flip-up seat on the other side. But both sides have a securement for a wheelchair, the same kind of securement clamp with the seat belts that you could attach to the wheelchair and so on. And then going back through the middle section of the car, it goes 2-1 seating. So you have 2 on the left, 1 on the right, 2 on the right, 1 on the left, and back and forth all the way to the back doors. So rearward of the rear doors, which I would consider, we call the 3 and 4 doors, the seating arrangement is done with 6 forward-facing seats, 4, actually, no, I have to read my own presentation. I forgot, I'm trying to go from memory, sorry. And it's 7 aisle-facing seats and 6 forward-facing seats in a similar arrangement to what some other cars had. So it's got a mixture of different seats, different arrangements. And I think some of the seats are popular to some people, are the single seat all the way in the back of the train that's kind of wedged in the corner there, which is kind of a nice little private seat. I think some people like those. All right, that's it for about the seat arrangement. General arrangement, I have a photograph showing kind of the color scheme, which is generally blue, blue seats, blue inserts, blue floor, but I'll tell you the floor is changing. We're going to a darker, dark gray to black floor. Had some issues with cleanliness of this floor, so we made that change. General arrangements, very similar to 5000. A big takeaway from this is we put an additional, like a map display in the center of the car. And we have some yellow handles, the swing down, the grab straps. Door system, also familiar with the 5000s. Everybody should be familiar with the doors. They're kind of basically the same manufacturers we had before. And I think before from people in the committee mentioned that the doors were awfully quiet. So one of the features that we implemented at kind of the suggestion of the committee was to add a chime that would make some noise outside the car when the doors are opened. And these chimes are centered over the doors, so maybe make it easier to navigate and find the doors. The door closing chime is the same sound that we had on the 5000 series, so that should be some familiarity to people that do take the 5000s. Also, over the door header, there is a light, also exactly the same as what was on the 5000 series, that indicates the door is in motion. It illuminates before the doors start to open, and then flashes before the door starts to close, and it keeps flashing until the door is fully closed. So similarities, but also some differences. Suspension system, that's one of the things that's a little different. The 5000 series has a leveling system that tries to level to the platform. This particular car series has what we call a platform height detection system. So as the train rolls into a platform, there's sensors on the side of the car that scan the platform and detect the height of the platform, and then tries to adjust to that platform to try to get a more accurate match to that platform. I think the problem we had in the past with the 5000s, 5000s would go down to a standard height. So you'd go down to what our standard platform height is, which is great for brand new stations. But the issue was that a lot of the older stations, maybe some in the loop, were built to a different standard, so they may not match exactly. So this will scan some of those stations, and what happened I know a few loop stations where the train would lower even though the platform was higher, and it was kind of lowering unnecessarily. So this sensor will be able to better match some of these stations, but I think the technology is still not 100%. It will match up when it does scan a platform that's lower to or equal to the car floor height, but sometimes some of these platforms are actually a little bit higher than car floor height. So that may not exactly match, and also the gap fillers we currently use can still be used if necessary. Going on to next, communication system. We do have similar PA system to make announcements inside and outside of the car. We are pushing, we pushed it to make it more automatic. I know in many times in discussions we've had with Amy and so on about sometimes messages not being synced properly or not being played in the proper location. This system defaults into automatic mode. So the operator has no input. It just triggers as the door and the motion of the car will trigger it, basically. So it's supposed to be more accurate unless it's put to manual. Somebody would have to make the effort to switch it to manual. The voice is the same voice of CTA, so everybody, you're used to hearing the same voice. It's going to be the same person. Visual, but they're re-recorded, so we want to try to get better audio quality, because the quality we had before, as you make changes to the messages, the voice of the CTA changes as ages his vocal cords. So we re-recorded everything to get a nice even sound on all those messages. We do have visual message signs on each side of each end of the car. It's an amber sign that will show the text of what the audio message is saying. So the pre-recorded audio messages will be just repeated on those signs in text. So then we got something we call, which is new, it's called a visual map display. It's a map in the middle of the car. It's like two back-to-back LCD screens in kind of a wedge-shaped pattern over the center of the train. It shows basically a system map, or a piece of the system map. So it will show like a bar depicting the red line or blue line or whatever other color line you may be on, and there'll be circular dots showing where each station is with the station name next to it. And it'll show you currently the station you're at and the upcoming, 4, 5, or 6 stations. And as you move along, the bar will slide and depict all the stations piece by piece all the way to the end of the route. Also has other information on that sign. It points to the side which the doors are typically opening on, and and also displaying like the route and run number that you're on. In addition to that visual message screen, there are 2 additional screens which are smaller, let's say kind of like computer monitor size screens. On the door pockets, what we call the area outside, adjacent to the number 2 and number 3 doors. This also repeats route and next stop information. We also have it displaying we have the capability to display some public service messages, some of this stuff that Brian maybe was talking about. Maybe we could put some of those on the train. And it also displays on-car video, which is kind of I don't know if it's a fun feature, but I think it is. So it shows like a live video snapshot of the inside of the train at the time. Just to remind people that, hey, we do have video surveillance and you are being recorded. So there's kind of a safety security thing just to remind people, don't cause trouble because we see you. Communication system, I got an image here just showing the visual message sign at the end of the car. That's very similar to what we had on 5000. So if you're familiar with that, it shows on the top line will be next stop information and the text to match the audio. And on the bottom, when it's not displaying other stuff, it will show you the date and the time. Next thing is an image of the active map display, which I said it was a back-to-back sign in the middle of the train. So for some of you that are maybe very tall, above 6'4", watch out. In the middle of the car, you might have to duck because it's, I forget the exact dimension, but it does kind of hang down a little bit. And only an issue to the basketball players around, that may have issues. But the map shows left-hand side of the screen, shows red line, run 800 to 95th Dan Ryan, and this stop is Howard. And on the right-hand side, it shows like a bar showing the different stations, showing this stop and showing the upcoming stops. What you see is next to each station that has accessibility features, elevators, so on, there'll be a little logo, the accessibility symbol. And just for your information, the red bar all the way to the left, and this map shows you have Granville and then 95th Dan Ryan. The little kind of crosshatch thing shows that, the 95th Dan Ryan is the end of the route. And as this map moves, that will kind of slide, like Granville will move over to where Loyola is, and then the next station will come into place. So that's kind of a rough explanation of the active map display. Also, the communication, this next image is the monitor that's at the number 2 and 3 doors, which gives you that additional information of this stop and line information. And this is the sign, that the screen that also will show you the images periodically of interior video, kind of live as a reminder. I think this was kind of a big thing, a takeaway we took from the committee is the communication system, express mode. And as you may be familiar with, that sometimes CTA has to skip stops if there's a backup in the line or there's an emergency. So we go into express mode. And unfortunately, in the past, in older car series, express mode was kind of contingent on manual announcements telling people that it was going express, and sometimes not everyone got the message. So what happened now is we have an express mode where the operator will select the station where he will be going express to. You have the visual message signs at the end of the car displaying and flashing express and saying we're going express to Howard. So people will know in advance, they'll be able to see where the train is going express to. So if they need to get out of the car, they'll have that information in front of them so they can see it. And also it will make an audio announcement that they're running express. Same thing with the route sign map in the middle of the car. It'll actually eliminate the stops on the map, just showing the station you're at and the station you will be going to in this special express mode. And also the smaller LCD screens will also say express to whatever location it will be going to. So this is a visual representation of the visual message sign at the end of the cars. As you can see, it says express to Howard. So whatever stops between where you're at to where you're going will be skipped. The top portion of it, express, will flash to kind of give more emphasis that, hey, there's something going on here. This is a representation of the LCD sign on this side by the 2 and 3 doors. And it also shows that this is express to Howard. So that's indicating that. So more locations where you could spot if this train is being run express for a special reason. And this is a representation of the map showing also the express mode. And you see that it's going from yellow line Howard, I think that's Howard, that doesn't show up well on it, but from Howard to Dempster-Skokie. So you're skipping the Oakton stop in the middle. And that's how it's going to be represented for any line, that the intermediate stops will disappear from the map, and it will say that it will be expressed to the specific station that they choose to go to express to. And that's it. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I'll gladly answer.
This is Michelle.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Sorry. I was just going to say thank you to Bob for your presentation. Super thorough and very informative. And I don't personally take the train a lot, but maybe I'll consider it now that you know all these new features. Just a quick question before I let Joe ask his question. So I'm noticing like on all your displays, the font sizes are a little small. Even when we were looking at it this way, I'm wondering, is there any room to make them bigger at all, or just because when I'm sitting kind of farther back, I don't think I could read it, and I think I have pretty good eyes. So I'm wondering for everybody else if there's any way to make it bigger.
We'll look into it, but maybe. I think one of the thoughts about the font size was also is you have more signs, so you have you're always within a reach of a sign. So if you can't see maybe the side door pocket display, you always have the VMS, which is close to your right. So it's almost like, let's say maybe every 6 to 8 feet you have a sign. So if you can't see one, maybe you could see the other. But there could be potential, because you're working with a relatively small screen and trying to fit a lot of information. So once you beef up the fonts too much, you kind of lose a lot of information. So we'll look into it, and I think maybe at some point in time, if members of the committee will, if we have a show and tell or something like that, you get your firsthand experience with it and give some input. And we could always check with the vendor and see what he can do with improving some of those fonts. But I think there's a lot of signs, so it's kind of like there'll be some, if you can't really make this one out, you're actually closer to another one maybe that might be better.
Great. And then one follow-up, this is Michelle, one more follow-up question. I did notice that there's like accessibility icons on like, that visual map. So if there's like an elevator, there's a little wheelchair sign, but on the LCD displays by the doors, is that as well? Like it displays like you are at this current stop. Will it have like an accessibility icon if it's applicable? Because for me, sometimes I don't never know which, as a wheelchair user, I don't ever know which station is accessible or not. And, would it be helpful if it's like right by the door?
Yeah, you know what? That's a very good question that I can't answer. I'll look into it and I'll see if it's there. If it's not, that's probably a very good idea to have that there.
And especially if it's expressing, like wherever the express is, it would be really nice to be able to know if there's accessible features of that station.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
I'll look into it.
Okay, Joe, I'll turn it over to you. You had questions.
Oh yeah, thanks, Michelle. This is Joe. Will the language of express to Howard, for instance, will that be audible as well as visual?
Yes, it will.
Okay, thanks.
And then also, I think in lots of times in practice, like right now, like signs that don't have this express feature, the operator makes an announcement. He'll go and make a manual announcement, says, due to, a station closed ahead or a fire or something like that, we'll be running express to this station. And I think that was kind of the issue. We always did it by microphone. So if you couldn't hear, then, you didn't know. So we wanted to put the emphasis on making it visual just to kind of have everybody included and make sure nobody gets diverted somewhere they don't want to go.
Thanks.
This is Whitney. I have two questions. So the first question is, when you showed the example of the yellow line, the contrast of the lettering on the color was not that great. Is that an accurate example of how that looks on the display?
I don't think so. I think it's a little sharper. I think maybe just the image we took isn't so good, but the white has like a black outline, or it's supposed to, so it would pop a little bit better. We tried to duplicate kind of the fonts and the images based on like what we have for like system maps. So it should be equivalent to like the paper maps that we have above the doors and so on.
Okay, thank you. And then my second question, you talked about the display maps in the middle of the cart and that they were low. And I was just wondering, do you know if they're lower than 88 inches, which is ADA requirement, or? No,
it's not lower. It is, did you say 88 inches?
80.
Oh, no, it's definitely, that's 6'8".
Yeah.
No, it's higher than what the doorway would be. So if you have to duck coming in the door, you have to duck for that sign. But I think it's more than 80.
Okay.
This is Mary. I have a question about contrast. As you mentioned, you're going to try to go to black floors, but actually for those of us who have partial vision, that could be a huge issue because there might not be enough contrast between the floors, the seats, the straps, and all of those visual signs are going to be flashing and showing us different colors, and that could end up looking like to us like you have two things in the car: too much light from those signs and not enough light from the floor and the other objects in the room that we desperately need to know about quickly. The straps, the handholds, and the seats. And we work on that to make sure everything is really sharp and in contrast to each other, especially those critical physical parts.
Yeah, I think, and like I said, we're not really reinventing the wheel because, the blue floors was unique for these cars. Like a 5000 series currently has very similar flooring to what this car will have. And it also has those luminescent path light, like it's photoluminescent strips. So there is some yellow lines showing the path. So in emergencies, those will glow in the dark. So that gives you a little bit of contrast for the path. And the seats are kind of a bluish color, similar to what the 5000s are. So that gives you probably some contrast with the beige wall panels. So hopefully it's not too distracting, but I think it's, like I said, since it's very similar to our other car series, those who are familiar maybe with the other car series it may not be a problem. But I think that's something we could take into consideration if we show, take a look at the cars or have a show and tell at some point in time. We could consider something there.
This is Mary again. Yes, show and tell I think would be very, very helpful, because a lot of people are depending on, not being able to see the features of a person when finding a seat, but that big blue or whatever color your seats are going to be in contrast to everything else in the car. And when you're trying to hurry to get on the the train without falling, that's like, a huge safety issue.
Yeah, and I think, I was a part of one of the show and tells in the past. I think we did it on the Brown line at Kimball, where we brought in several different car series. And I think that's really very, very helpful to get the comfort level. We do have the various tags, we do have the Braille tags, the Braille signs and things like that. So, people who can read Braille, they could see, okay, it's 7000 series. And if those people had experience, through one of our show and tells, the thought would be you'd get some familiarity where to find, the different seats, where to find the passenger intercom, like for emergencies and so on. So I think that may help also, and I think, Amy, we've talked about possibly doing that sometime in the future.
Yeah, this is Amy. What he is referring to is we did a rail familiarization training like we did for the bus recently, and that was the thing at Kimball. So maybe we can do something like that and show the different cars. People got an idea of what the comparisons were, and like Bob said, how to get on, how to get on, how to get off, how the seats flip, all of sort of those little technical things. So we can certainly check into doing that. Summer's a good time, summer or fall, when it doesn't get too cold. So maybe we could touch base, Bob, and see what we can do.
Okay.
This is Michelle. Any more questions from the members? Okay, but thanks so much, Bob. We appreciate your time, and I'm excited to check out these new rail cars.
All right, sure, no problem. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the CTA rail berthing project, and we have Devin Gordine. Devin, turn it over to you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Devin Gordine, and Senior Manager of Emergency Preparedness here in the Safety Department. On behalf of Nancy Ellen Zussman, Chief Safety and Security Officer, and Mrs. Jenny Alexander, Vice President of Rail Station Management, thank you to the ADA Advisory Committee for this opportunity to present on this subject. Mariah, can you cue up the presentation, please? Next slide, please. So a little bit of background, the CTA Berthing Project is the product of a proactive, collaborative working group made up of many CTA departments tasked with eliminating an event in which trains are stopped and the doors are opened with parts of the train outside of the station. This occurrence is what we call improper berthing. So what is the Improper Berthing Project? It is a initiative that will require that all rail cars at all rail stations will always stop at the most forward part of the rail platform. This berthing process will promote consistency for both customers and rail operators. Next slide, please. Why is this project necessary? The primary purpose of the berthing project is to ensure safety for our customers and staff. Customers will always know exactly where the head car of the train will stop, regardless of the length of the constants. This berthing upgrade eliminates the concern of a rail car being off of the platform at any rail station. Next slide, please. When will the new berthing procedure start? The specific implementation date has yet to be determined, but most likely this project will kick off later this summer or early in the fall. The CTA is providing this notification to the ADA Advisory Committee so that members of the disability community will be aware of the impending changes. Additional notifications will be sent prior to the final implementation via the accesstransitchicago.com email, as well as posted on the CTA website, www.transitchicago.com. Next slide, please. Who is affected? The berthing project is a system-wide effort. All customers need to be aware of this change so that they are standing in the appropriate location to board the train car of their choice. Passengers wishing to sit in the head car should always plan to board at the most forward part of the platform. All rail operations staff will receive training so that they know exactly where to berth the train, no matter the length of the constants. Next slide. Passenger impact. If you can see the picture on the screen, you will notice a small yellow marker. We affectionately call that the hello yellow. That is where the operator knows to berth and position the train. So the tactile will remain, the berthing locator will remain, and the operators will berth at the forward portion of the station and position the train as you see at this picture at Clark and Lake Station. So as far as ridership behavior, be aware that if you want to be in the train's head car, you need to ensure that you are standing near the yellow tactile strip as seen on the photo on the platform. And then that way you will be positioned right at the door of the head car so that you can board the train at that location. Next slide, please. Platform signage. This signage will dictate that the boarding locations will be changed. The effective date has not been finalized. Once there is finalization, these signs will be installed at the platform stations, at the station platforms, to let the riders know of the impending changes. Signage will be placed on all rail platforms. Other signs will be relocated or moved as necessary, and placement will be dependent on the actual boarding locations on the platform as shown in the picture on your screen. Trains, the signs read boarding change. Like I said, the effective date, trains board ahead at all times. Trains board in this area only when longer trains are running. Next slide, please. At the in the non-paid area, you will see this signage on your screen. This sign reads station boarding change. Starting at the agreed upon date, all trains will stop at the forward end of the platforms at this station, no matter how many cars make up the train. When shorter trains run, such as 4 or 6 car trains, board towards the forward end of each platform. Remember the hello yellow. Please move down the platform before your train arrives. Be safe. Never run for a train. Why is this change being made? To improve safety, we are relocating where operators stop or berth. Their trains make up to a single point on platforms, regardless of the train length or time of day. And these signs will be located just outside the station entrances prior to the turnstile areas, and they will be placed as to not impede customer flow. Next slide, please. Additional components to ensure customer safety. Ongoing PA announcements to remind customers where to board. So remember the CTA voice that will now direct customers on where to board the train. Printed signage throughout rail stations. Tactile and braille signage will not be changed. Some station amenities, benches, etc., may change locations on the platform as feasible. Train operators will allow for more boarding time when feasible, and additional CTA personnel will be stationed on the platforms during the initial berthing project implementation. So we will have plenty of personnel to assist people along the platform to get them used to being positioned in the new berthing locations. Next slide. So again, thank you. My name is Devin Gordine, Senior Manager of Emergency Preparedness. Thank you for your time. And are there any questions?
Yeah, Devin, this is Joe. I have a couple of questions about the front car berthing area. Number one, is it always going to be yellow at every station? And two, will there be some kind of detectable warning or something so that people know that's the right spot that maybe can't see it?
So yes, the yellow tactile will remain. So that will remain. That is not going anywhere. And there will be customer service assistance to assist passengers along the platform so that they are made aware of where to stand to correlate their berthing locations as the trains enter the platform. But there will be no additional audible platform signals. So it's just moving the train further along the platform to ensure that all of the rail cars are safely berthed into the station.
And this is Joe again. And as you said, no matter what the length of the number of cars, that's going to be the berthing spot.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions?
This is Amy, and I just want to let people know we will give you plenty of notice when this is kicking off. We haven't even put this out there for the public so much. We wanted this committee to sort of have a little bit of a heads up. Again, there's going to be support, but just keep in mind just go to all the way to the front of the train if you want to be in the front. You can ride in any car you want, as always. But if you're used to being in the front car, it's only going to really matter to you if you're on a shorter train, like a pink, a 4-car, a 6-car, and you're not used to being so far up. But in most cases, you may not even realize that it's different. But we are doing our best to get the word out. So I will be putting stuff out there for the disability community, definitely.
Thanks, Devin.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nicholas.
Go ahead, Bridget. You can go. Or excuse me, Michelle.
No, go ahead. I was going to wrap it up. So,
Devin, just another quick question. Is it going to be, and this is a non-visual question, is it going to be a tactile line across the cement platform, or is it going to be a yellow space on the tactile, I don't know, what my friend calls the death or the suck zone?
Well, there to ensure that customers don't walk off the edge of the platform, we do have a yellow gate. Those, Mariah, if you can bring up the presentation and go to maybe the 4th slide from the end. 2, 3, right there. So Nick, if you can see the position of the train, the train will always berth at the yellow, hello yellow marker.
Okay.
So that will always be where any intending passengers can position themselves to board at the head car.
So is that a tactile thing on the ground, or is it a gate that's maybe at like at waist level or something?
Well, on the floor of the platform, that is a tactile strip there. So this whole blue and yellow edge is a tactile feature.
Okay, so it'll be on the edge of the tracks then.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, that was my question, just so I could let people know when this does kick off, where they could be able to find that if they wanted to.
Yes, sir. Yes, that is like I said, a tactile strip that gives some sort of additional feeling from the platform itself to the edge of the platform.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gordine. I appreciate you.
No, great question. Thank you, sir.
This is Michelle. One last, I guess, question or suggestion. The black and white sign that was displayed with the boarding change information, I found that sign to be a little bit confusing. I don't know if anybody else on the committee did, but maybe it's because I don't have context. Like all of the trains currently don't stop at that same place. Like they can just stop anywhere. Is that what's happening? Like I'm confused about the project, I guess.
This is Brian Steele, Vice President of Communications and Marketing. Vice Chair Lee, we are working on all the signage and communications related to this change. We recognize that it'll be a big change for a lot of users, and we've been having a lot of back and forth with all the various departments at CTA, including Mr. Gordine's group, the operations group. Yeah, you are correct, and I believe Amy Serpy mentioned it earlier. Most lines are currently running full 8-car consists. So this will kind of be a moot point for most customers. You will see it on the pink line, which is a 6-car consist line all the time, if I remember correctly. I think sometimes it goes down to 4. But the point is, we are still looking, we're in various iterations of these signs, and the goal, is to make it as clear as possible. And I should also note that the signage will be complementary to all the other communications channels that we will be using. You know, when we're ready to make this announcement, we'll have a public announcement of it. We will have social media promotion. We will use our in-system screens and channels to put the information out. So hopefully by the time a customer actually sees the sign, they will already have a good bit of awareness of the change and what it means.
Okay, thank you. This is Michelle. Sorry, it was just confusing because I don't, like I said, I don't run the trains a lot, but just this verbiage here where it says trains board in this area only when longer trains are running, then in my mind, I would be like, well, what happens about the shorter ones? You know, but I'm sure it'll hopefully come together as the project evolves and time comes closer. So thank you. Thank you for answering. And thank you, Devin, for your presentation. We really appreciate it for all of your time. Next on the agenda, we have the customer service report that I'm sure the members know that we've been emailed that ahead of time. And we have Kate here to give us like kind of a walkthrough of trends, and we can ask any questions as needed. So I'll turn it over to you, Kate Kinley. Thank you.
Sure. Good afternoon. My name is Kate Kennelly, and I am the Acting General Manager for Customer Service. Since you all have received the report ahead of time, I'll just provide a little synopsis and be happy to answer any questions. So over the last 3 months, from April to June, we logged a total of 153 ADA complaints, which is an average of 51 per month. This represents 4% of all complaints logged, which is pretty typical of most periods that we see here. The top issue reported over the last few months was employees being discourteous, with a total of 49, which is an average about 16 per month. This is up about 36% from the previous quarter and can be broken down further with 84% bus and 16% rail. And the top garages identified were North Park and Forest Glen, each with a total of 9. Our next highest category was reports of customers being passed at the bus stop. With a total of 36, this category was down 10%. The top garage for this category was North Park with 8, followed by 74th and 77th, which each received 6. If anyone has any questions about the reports that were submitted, I'll be happy to try to answer.
This is Michelle. If we don't have any questions, thank you, Kate. We really appreciate it. I know it's a lot of work gathering all this information, so we appreciate you presenting it to us. And you did say it's pretty consistent. It's not like more complaints are going up with ridership. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, I mean, we have actually had a decrease compared to last year. We had an increase last quarter, in the quarter 2 and quarter 3 of last year, as a result of the rear door boarding initiative. So we actually have seen some improvement. But I would say we've maintained consistency in that our ADA complaints are about 4% of all of our complaints. So that's been pretty consistent throughout the last couple of years.
Great. This is Michelle. Thank you.
Okay, this is Joe. A quick question. When you mentioned the complaints that come across regarding rail service, is that sort of like the customer service agents that are at the station? Because I would imagine there's more interaction with them the public might have than the actual rail operator.
Yeah, so our rail complaints on the rail side accounted for about 16% of our complaints, and I would say that most of those are related to rail customer service, the agents, but there's also issues in there, other issues that might happen at a station, an interaction with an operator. We also have elevator issues, escalator issues, that would all be considered part of our rail complaints.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Mike Connolly. Just to let you know, one of the things that Amy included, I think, in the information this month that was sent to you was something that Kate and her staff have done. We had talked at this committee about trying to give you guys more information about what the follow-up and these complaints were. One of the items that was included this month in the report was a sorting out of the complaints by garage, by category. And so we're on the way. It's a very complicated process, and we're trying to simplify it to give you a better feel for where these are happening and how we can get at them. So what are the action items? And one of the first steps is doing what Kate and her staff did, and Amy had talked with her about, was sorting them out by garage. So we know what the trends are per garage. We'll start tracking that and reporting on that to this committee. So it's just to give you a preview. That's the direction we're headed based on the requests that you guys had made for more information.
This is Doreen from MOPD. One of the things I brought up at the last meeting is that it would be nice to hear not so much a resolution, but the outcomes of the complaints. And I don't necessarily mean for tracking, how well it was resolved per se, but I'll use bus pass-ups as an example. If, let's say, I'm just throwing a number out there, let's say there were 20 bus pass-up complaints, and let's say after you looked into it, it was found that 10 of them was because the buses were full, and 5 of them were because the buses were out of order. And then the other 5 were, they had to be dealt with individually because they shouldn't have passed up the person. If not so much the actual resolution for the individual complaints, but how many of the complaints were, ultimately did not fall into that category with the outcome. I'm just using that category as an example.
Doreen, this is Amy. And I think I do understand what you want. I don't know, honestly, how feasible it is to get that information. If a bus passes someone up, there really isn't a way. The garages get numbers. There were 5 pass-ups. These are if somebody reports it. It was passed up at this time. Maybe sometimes they could tell, was this bus was it crowded? They don't always know.
Oh, right. No, I get that. I know they don't always know, but there are instances where after they get the bus number, and they do know. And in instances where they do know, and I'm not only referring to bus pass-ups, I'm also referring to, any type of complaint. After it's looked into, it's determined,
If it's determined, let me jump in. So we get a complaint. The garage, who's ever, the senior managers and the managers, if a person says, number one, I want you to contact me about the resolution of this complaint, they will get a phone call. If they don't ask, they might not get a call. If they don't say, I want to call, some people say, I want an email. Some people say, I just want you to know. Okay. Mm-hmm. Every complaint that they get is looked into. It's not where they get a list and it says you had 10 pass-ups today and they go, oh, okay, we had 10 pass-ups and they put it aside. That doesn't happen. They actually do look at all of the incidences. Mm-hmm. I also think you need to understand that when you're seeing these numbers, like there's 9 complaints, that's 9 complaints in a 3-month period. It's not 9 complaints in a week. It's not 9 complaints in a day. It's 9 complaints over a 3-month period. So right. I think some of the information you want can maybe be given, but some of it cannot be produced. And also there are union regulations that may say, because we do here, yes, the manager will tell me, yes, we looked into that complaint. We resolved it. And, we can't tell you, did the person get a write-up? Did the person get a suspension? Did the person get this? There are union rules that we don't get that information. We're not privy to that. So I think I understand what you want. I don't know that all of it is as possible as you think it is to get all of that, the amount of detail that you want. I think Kate's done a good job in saying these are the garages. I mean, we could look into if a particular garage, let's say next time, has more or the same number of the same kinds of complaints, then I think that starts to maybe show a little bit more of a trend or a pattern, and we can look at it that way. So I kind of think, like Mike says, stay tuned for the next meeting, and we can see where these numbers kind of go, if that makes sense to everybody.
Yeah, because I was just using that as an example. Like another example would be, let's say a person refused to move from the priority seating area. And ultimately, the reason why is because the person who is requesting them to move, maybe a person using a wheelchair is in the priority seating area, but the person who's boarding has a stroller, or vice versa. If the person refusing to get out of the priority seating area has a stroller and a person with a wheelchair comes on, we would like to know, like, ultimately what was the outcome to the situation. Not so much, a clear and cut resolution, but clarification of, after looking into the complaint, what were the details of the complaint? What were the more factual details, I guess you could say, of the complaint?
Just so you understand, this is Amy again. When there is an issue of somebody in priority seating, we can request people to move. We cannot make anybody move, whether or not they have a disability, whether or not they got luggage, a stroller, what we can ask them. It's request, not require. And that is the law. That is the policy. I know sometimes people with disabilities don't like that policy. They don't think it's fair, but It is the policy. So I just did a bus stop training this morning, quite honestly, and I made it really clear that you are always obligated to ask, and you're obligated to ask, hopefully using your PA system so people hear you. But when push comes to shove, if somebody doesn't want to move, and there's unfortunately a lot of people that won't move.
It's still the same. It's still the language that before when I was on the committee, where federal law mandates that we designate priority seating. Exactly. But federal does not mandate that priority seating has to be relinquished for a boarding passenger. So no, I get that. I understand that is still the law. And I'm not saying, like I said, I'm just saying sometimes complaints appear to be one thing going into the system, and then they ultimately turn out to be another complaint when it's looked into. And if the complaint, if the ultimately the nature of the complaint information I don't want to say the complaint information changes, but if the presumptive situation changes, something like that, if we could be found out, if we could find out the information on that.
But I guess we can check with BUS as we move forward with this.
Just to see what's possible. Yeah. And I get it. It's just something I'm inquiring about.
Thank you, Michelle. I think we need to maybe get back to.
This is Michelle. Thanks, Kate, for your report. We appreciate it every time. Like, it's nice to know the trends. It's nice to know where we are. And thank you. So next on the agenda, we have, moving along, the elevator and escalator efficiencies report. And I'm going to turn it over to Lenny Romano or Nicholas Levis. I don't know who's here.
I'm on.
Okay. And if you wouldn't mind to do a quick visual description also. I forgot to say earlier.
Absolutely. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lenny Romano. I'm the General Manager of Facilities Maintenance, and a quick visual description of myself is I am a white, mid-40s male, head of hair, medium-sized build, about 5'11", and just a happy-go-kind-of-lucky kind of guy. So I will start my presentation. I believe you guys all had a copy of the efficiency reports, but I would be glad to give you guys a quick summary of those reports. And I'll start out with the elevators. Our elevator efficiencies held a flat line from quarter 1 of 2021 to quarter 2 21. We saw a slight less than 1% decrease over year over year from quarter 2 2020 versus quarter 2 2021. We had about 376 elevator service calls throughout quarter 2 of 21. The highest being on the green line and the red line, both respectively have the highest total of commissioned elevators at the CTA. And most calls were related to doors, sills, detector edges, and switches. In regards to our escalator efficiencies also held a flat line in quarter 1 of 21 to quarter 2. As well as a flat and steady year over year from quarter 2 2020 versus quarter 2 21. Escalators, we had a total of 299 service calls throughout quarter 2, highest being both on the blue line and the red line, which again, respectively, both have the highest total of commissioned escalators at CTA, but average out to about 2.4 calls per escalator on the red line during quarter 2 and 1 call per escalator on the blue line. Most of the escalator calls resulted in a reset of a fault on either the controller, which can be associated with either comb impacts, handrails, inlets, skirt switches, and drive safeties. So that's a quick summary of our uptime for our elevator escalator efficiency report. Moving on to our modernization. Modernization currently, as it is right now, we have a total of 5 ongoing modernization on the escalators, as well as 2 ongoing with the elevators. There was an error in an estimated completion date on the escalator, Lake Randolph Red Line A502E. We had a completion date of March 15th. However, that was incorrect. It is August 4th of 21. Be happy to take any questions in regards to the efficiency report.
All right. If there's no questions, this is Michelle. Thanks so much, Lenny, and appreciate your summary and also your visual description.
Thank you. I also have one more thing I wanted to also report on, and it's kind of, I'm piggybacking off of Tanisha's construction report. One of the highlights of this year, we have in 2019, we completed a planning for a system-wide elevator replacement program, which is separate from the ASAP program. This is a system-wide elevator replacement program where we reviewed all of the current elevators within the system and prioritized a rehab or a replacement based on a condition and usage. The program did not provide specific rehabilitation needs, so the current next steps are to review those elevators and prioritizing them in the field to develop a specific requirements. CTA is currently in the process of developing a task order to bring on an elevator specialist to review the current conditions against code requirements and accessibility requirements. And then based on the elevator inspections, CTA will issue then a task order to specific contractors to upgrade and modernize up to 14 to 16 elevators currently. Elevator upgrades are anticipated to begin in the late 2022 And that work will continue as long as funding allows and will be expanded if additional funding is found. In advance of that main work, we're also starting to replace deteriorated floors, stills at targeted locations throughout the system. And that work is anticipated to begin this fall. So we have two exciting things that we're going to be starting on our current elevators. So I just wanted to bring that to the committee as well. And I also shared with you one slide in regards to that as far as the budget and the funding source.
This is Michelle. That's really exciting. I love new elevators, so I can't wait. And then for a quick question though, you said there, you mentioned a consultant's going to be coming and evaluating which ones to prioritize. Would you be able to bring that to the committee, the list when it's available? Just because I'd love to know, and I'm sure others would as well.
Absolutely. As we do that, we can definitely bring that to the committee, and I can pass that information on over to Amy as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Michelle. Bill Mooney, Chief Infrastructure Officer. I just wanted to jump in and piggyback on one thing Lenny said, is he talked about this not necessarily being part of the ASAP, the construction program that Tanisha is going to talk about, but it's part of the original ASAP plan. As ASAP envisioned us rehabbing 40 elevators every 5 years in the capital program. So, many of our original units now are pushing 25 to 30 years in their lifespan, which is well beyond kind of what you would expect out of a transit elevator unit. And so, ASAP created some dedicated funding streams to rehab the first 18 of those in the vision for the 5-year plan. And that's really the program Lenny's taking on. The original program did highlight kind of what they thought would be the priority for those units. And that's kind of what we're reevaluating right now based on kind of deterioration and age and need of the system since that plan was originally instituted.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for the update. Appreciate it. And so you mentioned the funding is separate from ASAP. Is that what I heard correctly? Or where is the funding?
No, this is all part of the ASAP capital program. It's just not being done. We're using our maintenance program to do the rehabs. It's not going through the construction department.
Okay, gotcha.
So this is not, ASAP envisioned doing a series of tiered installations of adding elevators in locations that did not, as well as funding a dedicated stream for rehabilitation of the existing units. So this is part of the full funding stream for ASAP.
Okay, this is Michelle. Thank you. Thanks for the clarification. Any other questions from the members? All right, moving along to the next agenda item. The Red Purple Modernization Project update, RPM, and we have Mr. Jeff Wilson. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing? I've been in this call too long. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Wilson, and I am the Director of Government Community Relations. And I am old enough to buy alcohol. And I am wearing a black polo shirt. I am a Caucasian male, incredibly attractive. I have kind of dark, wavy, curly hairish. I wear glasses. And I am currently sitting in our customer service facing office, as you can see behind me. Let me describe it. Behind me is a sign that says, "We get there together," which is kind of our motto for the Red Purple Modernization Project. And our customer service facing office is located at 5137 North Broadway. And we just today had our soft opening, which we didn't do any announcements, didn't do anything. We just have opened the door to let people come in and start talking and asking questions about the Red Purple Modernization Project. But before I get started, what I'd really like to do is give a shout out to Amy Serpy and Joe for going on a tour with me and the RPM staff in June to look at both the Red Purple bypass area as well as the LBMM, the Lawrence to Bryn Mawr modernization area, where we're rebuilding from scratch for new stations. So Joe and Amy, that was a really great day, and I really appreciate the time and effort you went to get to do the tour with us. So thank you very much to both of you. And from that, what I wanted to do is talk a little bit about, just to give a brief synopsis, which I do every time I have the privilege of being able to speak to the ADA board. So I want to say that the RPM project is basically two projects coming together. One is the Red Purple bypass area, which, as everybody knows, is basically just a little bit north of Belmont and will allow the CTA to segregate out the red, purple, and brown line tracks so that in the future, when the project's over, they can seamlessly go about their train business without any interference with each other. Because as we all know right now, having the system the way it is basically like having a red light in the middle of the Kennedy Expressway with all those trains having to stop. So right now we are building a bridge that will take the brown line going westbound over those red and purple line tracks, so that they will now seamlessly move about once the project is over. And then on the north side, we are rebuilding, 100% rebuilding and making 100% accessible the Lawrence, Argyle, Berwyn, and Bryn Mawr stations with elevators and escalators, and it will be fully accessible to everyone by the end of this project. So we are very excited about that. Some of the things when Joe and Amy, when we were on the tour, I just wanted to give the board an update, if that's okay with you, about some of the things that you brought to our attention that needed to be addressed and what we're working on to hopefully get some closure on once we're done with this. So Vice Chair Lee, if that's okay, if I can go over that list. Thank you so much. So first we had the bypass area, and one of the suggestions was to paint the walkway around Newport with a bright orange paint to make it visible about where we had some issues with accessibility, so that people could be aware that there might be a problem moving forward with regards to sidewalk closures and or construction areas. So we thought that was a really good suggestion, and we're having Walsh Ford look and evaluate that. And then when we moved north to the new stations project area within the LBMM zone, we hit Lawrence first. And at Lawrence, we wanted to do the updates with, make sure that the updates included the sidewalk and street closures during the station demolition process. We also thought, Joe, that was a really excellent suggestion. So thank you very much. And we wanted to use the high orange barriers. And I think that was a suggestion that, Joe, you put forth as well. The high orange barriers would indicate there would be closures so that people would be able to navigate those closures better. And then at Lawrence as well, we wanted to make sure that there was straight text for upgrades, no pictures to make it easier for text reading. But I believe, Amy, that was your suggestion, which was a great one as well. As we moved forward and more north, we hit Argyle Station. And in Argyle, we need to know where the customer assistant call button was, because purples go past the station so fast that we felt like the suggestion from both Joe and Amy was to make sure that people were fully aware of where that call button was, or is, in the temporary station. So we too thought that was another good suggestion. Then there's the issue that we had, and the Vice Chair Lee, so what we have is as you go up the stairs at the temporary stations, the landing areas to make it easier to go up those stairs. And just as a reminder, the temporary stations are not fully accessible. And that's just part of our construction process. So, but what Amy suggested that we do and what we wanted to do was put that tactile edging in at the beginning of the temp station construction. But where we missed were the landing areas. And the landing areas were void of any tactile edging. And that since has been addressed, and Walsh Ford is moving forward with that fix. So thank you both. And then we hit Bryn Mawr. Bryn Mawr, we felt, was the biggest station in the temporary station construct that had probably the most efficiencies in it. And one of that was the northbound and the southbound accessibility with regards to people not understanding where to go and how to navigate, going from one area to get to the northbound station entrance and then one area to go to the southbound. And so we're working with Graham Garfield on our team to make sure that that signage and wayfinding is improved. The other one was the northbound platform. Unfortunately, at the time of the tour with Amy and Joe, did not have any of the tactile edging. And since we've had that tour, Joe, that's been addressed as well. So, and then in the southbound platform, the south stair to get closer to the first car. So it would just make it easier for people with accessibility issues to get to that to the first car. And we thought that was another good suggestion. So what I'd like to do is offer a tour of the RPM project to anybody on the board or anybody on this this Zoom who's interested in it. If you are interested in having a tour of the project area or within the RPB or the bypass area or the LBMM or the whole project area itself, just reach out to Amy and I'd be glad to set that up. Because I know we had a good time, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think I'm a pretty good tour guide. I'd love to see anybody that wants to do the tour with us. So that's about it. There's nothing really happening right now. We're doing some of the demolition work right now at Ardmore. The project is going along smoothly, but there's no real major updates other than I just stated earlier about the tour. So thank you.
This is Amy, and I do want to throw out, I appreciate the fact that you want to do some familiarization with the committee, and that's great. I want people to keep in mind, it is not accessible. There are no ramps, elevators, or escalators. So just so people understand, these are construction zones. So, I just want people to know that up front. So if you're considering or you want to go, that's great, but there's going to be some limitations. And also just in general, for the Blind and Visually Impaired Committee, it's a construction zone. I do have some residual vision. Some of it was even tricky for me. So they're doing, honestly, this group is really doing absolutely the best they can to make things as usable and user-friendly as they can, as they work through the demolition and the rebuild and everything. But it is a construction area. And I would highly recommend, if you need to use any of these temp stations, when you are blind or visually impaired, you might consider getting the customer service assistant to assist you, to maybe do sighted guide or something else. Might not be a bad idea. Just, you don't have to, but again, just be aware of the area that you're walking in. I think Joe might even agree with that one. So thank you.
This is Joe. You have to, take due caution in those areas. And one of my overall suggestion was as much information that can be put out there, whether it's on the CTA website or the access announcements regarding the temporary stations, is those little things that we were talking about. You would, at this one station, you would go right to get near the front of the train, or this is where the customer service call button is. So, as much information as can be put out there, the better.
Absolutely.
This is Michelle. If no more questions, I want to thank Jeff here for an amazing presentation. We appreciate it. And thanks for listening to all of our feedback. We also appreciate that because, it's nice that our voices are heard. See you next time.
Thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate you.
Next up on the agenda, which is the last report of the thing. I know we're sitting tight here. So the general construction report, it's going to be I'll turn it over to Tanisha Marshall for an update. Thank you.
Good afternoon to the members of the ADA Advisory Committee, active participants, and listeners. I am Tanisha Marshall, the Vice President of Capital Construction here at CTA. I will be providing you an update on the Phase 1 ASAP program and including a few other locations as we move into Phase 2 planning. As background, in 2016, CTA established a working group that consisted of representatives from the Chicago Transit Board, personnel for various CTA departments such as planning, ADA compliance, infrastructure, and law, as well as consultants from LCM Architects, a Chicago-based design firm that specializes in accessibility and universal design. The ASAP plan was published in 2018, which included a description of CTA's proposed station concepts, associated cost estimates, and a phased implementation strategy to add new elevators as well as other accessible features to the rail system, and to maintain and replace existing elevators in order to ensure continued accessibility. The total cost estimate for this ASAP is $2.1 billion for this 20-year endeavor to make our legacy system fully accessible. We are currently progressing Phase 1 and upcoming Phase 2. As Phase 1 ASAP projects are moving into design, additional consultants are being hold on. Additional consultants are being procured to develop and carry out the ASAP plan and goals. CTA infrastructure will be updating the ASAP phase plan starting this fall, and I will update you towards the end of this presentation on the timeline and how your participation will be a part of the planning process. Next slide, please. So this shows an overview of the different phases. This slide shows a chart from the ASAP report that breaks out the 42 inaccessible stations into 4 categories. The first of these categories is ASAP Phase 1, which includes 8 stations. 16 stations are in the future ASAP phases. 10 phases will be part of the future phases of the Red-Purple Modernization Program. And the remaining 8 stations will be part of a larger Forest Park Branch Reconstruction Program. All 8 stations in Phase 1 are funded and are progressing forward. Of the 8 stations identified in ASAP Phase 1, 4 are being advanced through the RPM program, and the future phases of RPM are ongoing, and a strategy for the remaining stations will be developed, and Jeff Wilson will describe that as they progress forward. In addition to the 4 RPM stations, CDOT is leading the reconstruction of the State and Lake Station downtown, and the 3 remaining stations in the ASAP Phase 1 are the Austin Green Line, Montrose Blue Line, and California Blue Line. In addition to these 4 stations, I will also be discussing the recently funded Racine Station, which is one of the 8 stations in the Forest Park Branch Reconstruction Program, as well as the Phase 2 Urban Park Station. Finally, I will be providing an update on the Cottage Grove Station and CDOT's Damon Green Line project. While these do not fall into one of the 4 ASAP phases, they will provide additional accessible upgrades to the rail system. Next slide, please. So to talk more about the CTA ASAP locations, Phase 1 and upcoming. Next slide. First up is our Austin Lakeline Green. This $25 million project addresses accessibility from the street all the way to the station platform and onto the train. Modifications include the addition of an ADA compliant ramp between the street level and the station house. This requires the build out of the street level station entrance in order to accommodate the new configuration. Today, the sidewalks have stairs to the street. This condition will be corrected with new accessible curb cuts and will add wider sidewalks and improve signage to enhance pedestrian safety and wayfinding. The reconfiguration also requires an adjustment to the street layout, which has been coordinated with CDOT and will require continued coordination throughout design and implementation. A new elevator will be added connecting the station house to the platform, which will be positioned on the paved side of the station house and centered between the 2 sets of stairs that connects the platform level. CTA is excited to continue the advancement of this Phase 1 project. Earlier this year, Epstein was selected as the DOR and are currently updating their 30% design phase, which will be submitted by the end of this month. JLK architects were also recently added to the project team to assist with historical components of the design. MOPD will be participating in the process and will review with CTA. This project is fully funded and construction is anticipated to start in Q3 of 2022. Next slide, please. Our next location is the California Blue Line Station. This is a $36 million project that addresses the needs for accessibility at this station. Modifications include the addition of 2 new elevators, one on both the inbound and outbound platforms, as well as other new elements in the renovated station house to improve the accessible path. At the east end, the platform will be widened to allow space for a wheelchair to safely pass and accommodate the high volume of riders at this station. Emergency egress stairs with accessible barrier gates will be added to enhance safety and circulation. The California Blue Line is the only Phase 1 station that has outside boarding platforms rather than one central boarding platform. This arrangement requires closer attention to wayfinding to ensure all patrons can properly locate and access their boarding area from the ground level station house. As part of the validation of the design, CTA and their consultants will review the overall layout of the station house and accessible path to develop options to ensure clear wayfinding. This project will involve property acquisition and historic coordination. Currently, the CTA is procuring a GEC with design to start early next year. This project is fully funded with constructions targeted to start at the end of 2023. Next slide, please. Okay, another station previously mentioned in ASAP Phase 1 is our Montrose Blue Line station. This $23 million project will improve the station's vertical accessibility, including improved sidewalks, crosswalks, and curb ramps, installation of 2 new elevators, and other station and platform upgrades. Located in the middle of the Kennedy Expressway, the Montrose Blue Line station entrances are located on the north and south side of Montrose Avenue. The 2 entrances allow for egress to either side of the bridge with the accessible bus stops to the 78 bus route. Both bridge level entrances will be upgraded with accessible storefronts, and the north side widened to allow improved circulation. Both entrances connect to a single fare array and customer attendant booth, which will be replaced to allow for the installation of a standard ADA fare gate. The main focus with this station as an expressway location is consideration on ambient noise and the impacts it has on wayfinding, especially for future considerations of integrated audio notifications. Currently, planning documents for this project are moving to final review and approval later this summer. Once the GEC consultant is selected, design is anticipated to start in Q1 of 2022. Next slide, please. So CTA is excited that the State Capital Rebuild Illinois funding, we can begin to make the major improvements to the Congress branch that are necessary to repair and modernize this line. Since it was constructed in the 1960s, there has been little significant investment in the Forest Park branch of the Blue Line, which serves the West Side communities and the major employment and health centers of the Illinois Medical District. The Phase 1 portion of the project will improve the line from downtown tunnel entrance to the Illinois Medical District station, which recently was fully upgraded for ADA accessibility. One of the major components of the Phase 1 work will be the upgrade to the Racine station, which has entrances at Racine and Loomis. Currently, the station, like all original Congress Blue Line station, is connected by a long continuous ramp to street level. At the Racine entrance, the ramp will be replaced with a full-size elevator. At the Loomis entrance, the ramp will be improved. Additional accessibility upgrades will be incorporated for the entrance doors and wayfinding. CTA has just been awarded the design contract. Construction is fully funded and will begin in late spring of 2023. Next slide, please. So the Urban Park Blue Line station is an ASAP Phase 2 station. CTA is currently pursuing grant opportunities to begin the design efforts for the location to assist in being prepared for future construction funding. The ASAP design will add 2 new elevators to the station by building or expanding the station houses located on the north side of Urban Park and the east side of Pulaski Road for full accessibility. The existing station houses will be improved for better circulation and wayfinding. The design and construction is currently not funded. However, CTA is pursuing the internal planning phase to position the project to move directly into design when funding is obtained. In the interim, CTA has just awarded a construction contract to replace the existing escalators and repair the canopies for improved circulation and passenger waiting environment. While the escalators are being replaced, only one entrance at a time will be closed during construction. Next slide, please. So another project that's not part of the ASAP program, but currently underway, is the replacement of the Cottage Grove station, which will include a new elevator and other accessible features in the new station house. This project will dramatically decrease the footprint of the CTA's Cottage Grove station over the intersection of 63rd Street and Cottage Grove, which will provide more natural light at street level and directly respond to community feedback. The project features a number of station enhancements that will improve customer experience, including attractive new sculptural canopies, contemporary station finishes, a new elevator, brighter lighting inside the station and on the platform. The new station house will be located within a new multi-use office retail space development by partnership with the Preservation of Affordable Housing, POA, who is adjacent to the existing station. This project is currently in 30% design. Construction is fully funded with work targeted to begin in the late fall of 2022. Next slide, please. Next, thank you. So the next couple locations are your CDOT ASAP locations. Next slide. First one of the State and Lake in the Loop line is part of the ASAP Phase 1. As you know, CDOT is leading the reconstruction of this downtown station in the Loop. This station is one of our highest ridership stations with almost 3.8 million rides prior to COVID. It is the 8th highest ridership station and key to improved accessible access downtown. Currently, the design is advancing to 60%. The station is proposed to include 8 elevators and will meet all accessibility guidelines. The final dates for construction will be determined by CDOT. So as we know more, we'll share more. Next slide, please. So the Damon Green Line on the Lake Line is a new station to provide improved access to the near West Loop area to transit. CDOT is leading this effort. Design is complete and the project is in the bidding phase with construction targeted to begin soon. Construction is anticipated to take 2 years to complete. This project will make the station fully accessible with 2 elevators to connect to the separate inbound and outbound platforms. So this is a whole new station. Next slide, please. Finally, I would like to talk a little bit about the remaining phases of ASAP and our next steps. The current slide shows a diagram from the ASAP report laying out the 4 ASAP phases. Phase 1 includes the 8 stations that I just described earlier. As you can see, with your support on funding, we have made tremendous progress on the Phase 1 stations. All are now fully funded in advanced planning or design phases. Additionally, CTA is beginning into the Phase 2 with design and construction of the Racine Station and planning for the Irving Park Station. This plan was developed in 2018 with the goal of updating it every 5 years. Given the success of moving Phase 1 into implementation steps, CTA will be starting the update cycle this fall to look at 3 key areas. First, we would like to review the priority of the stations in the phases listed above against current priorities and funding objectives. Secondly, we will need to update the overall concepts to current standards and technologies. Third, we want to elevate the ASAP program to the next level of wayfinding. Next slide, please. So to further break down the planning phase of the project, we have created this timeline graph, which I will explain. In September of this year, we will reactivate the ADA working group, whose focus will be committed to offering feedback on the ADA needs of the project, as well as acting as a sounding board to CTA. The working group was developed for the original ASAP and includes CTA, MOPD, and other accessibility group representatives. The working group will provide input and feedback to the ASAP plan updates and help ensure the plan meets the goals. Amy Serpy will be our key link between the ADA committee and the working group. From September to December of this year, discussions will focus heavily on the goals, objectives, and process development of the plan. I will provide general updates of progression from the working group to this body during our quarterly meetings. From January next year to June of 2023, the working group will focus on the plan updates, the reprioritization of necessary components, and the implementation strategy of the updated plan. The plan is set for completion in July of 2023, which will be 5 years from the original 2018 publication. Next slide, please. So we would like to thank this group again for your support of the Surface Transportation Program Block Grant that will be supporting the Austin Station renovation. CTA will continue to apply for additional funding and to work with our federal affairs team and elected officials to identify dedicated funding sources for accessibility improvements. We are excited about the upcoming opportunities, especially led by Senator Duckworth, to expand the ASAP program through additional funding availability. In conclusion, I would like to leave you today with a spirit of celebration and optimism for the continued advancement of ASAP. As we've now seen from our fully funded ASAP Phase 1 program, your ongoing advocacy and partnership drives our progress. We are looking forward to engaging on the updates to the ASAP program as we move to the next level. Next slide, please. Thank you for your time today, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Hi, Tanisha. This is Nick Robertson.
Hey, Nick.
This is kind of a two-part question, but it's both about the Damon Green Line, the Lake Line.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, if you can tell me these, when does bidding end for that project and when does construction begin?
So bidding itself has ended. However, they have not announced the contractor. So
Okay.
We're waiting to hear back from CDOT. Once a contractor is announced, I would say construction itself, you might not see for another 6 months because there's a time phase where they have to get in submittals and onboard all of their contractors. So you probably won't see construction. I would guesstimate Q1 of 2022.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Maybe sooner, but they haven't even announced the contractor yet. So does that answer your question, Nicholas?
Yes. Thank you.
This is Michelle. Hi, Tanisha. Thanks for your presentation.
Hi, Michelle.
I'm really excited. I'm really happy to see more things moving forward. A quick question regarding the ADA working group that you mentioned. I know you said it's starting in September, and is there any opportunities for committee members here to get involved, or is it mainly just through Amy? I'm just curious because I know when architects have well-intentioned designs, it's always better to involve the people who are going to be using it, and it's cheaper in the end instead of having to work in finance. It's cheaper to do it together from the beginning than make changes afterwards. So I'm just wondering what kind of opportunities are available, and if we can somehow support more.
Absolutely. So as we get closer to that time, I'll reach out to Amy to identify maybe up to 3 members from the committee that can sit on that working group board and provide input. And also, you definitely have an opportunity, even as your advisory committee, to provide some input, even if you're not selected as one of the working group members. But if there are some things that you want us to look into, we definitely will.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, everybody on the advisory board will definitely have an opportunity for feedback or input.
Yeah, thank you. This is Michelle. So we appreciate your time, and I know we're going a little over today on our meeting. So thanks for always giving us updates. We're really excited about the ASAP program, obviously. So thank you.
I'm excited to bring construction when we get there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'll have some fun pictures then.
So thank you so much. And Joe, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Michelle. And hi, all. As Michelle mentioned, I know we're running a little long, but hope you can hang in there with us. Our next agenda item is for subcommittee reports. And we only had one subcommittee, which is wayfinding, that approached us prior to today's meeting about making a presentation. So with that said, Whitney, you're up.
Hi, yes, and I'm going to keep this presentation really short. I don't actually have any slides to show, but I can go do just kind of an overview of when we last met. So we met in June, the beginning of June, and during our meeting, we had a few special guests. Phil Posner, who is Accessibility Advisory Committee Chair of Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, WMATA, reached out to the Wayfinding Committee During our bigger committee, we met with him as well as the wayfinding lead with WMATA, Patrick Sheehan. And it was an amazing meeting in itself, along with our two guests from WMATA. We also had a few special guests from the CTA coming, who came in from the planning team lead and planning support of CTA. And the nutshell of what we talked about was pretty much different wayfinding techniques, items that have been implemented and successfully used nationally. So we talked in detail about the ARA system, the AIRA system. For those of you who aren't aware, it uses the latest technology to help connect people who are blind or visually impaired by connecting them with highly trained professionals who can then interpret and give them visual information on demand. And so we talked with the leads from the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority about what they've been using with this technology, what they've seen other transit systems, how they've used this technology. And we just talked about the pros and cons. It's been something that internally within the subcommittee, we've talked about quite a bit. You know, how can we provide just a little bit more of technology assistance to those coming into the stations? How can we make sure that the information is clear and reliable across the board? And so to kind of get this real-time feedback from other committees just like ours, for other, major cities, and to kind of pick their brain about what they found successful, not successful, pros and cons, was incredibly helpful for us. We also talked about Navulence and Microsoft Soundscape. And so, yeah, I mean, like in a nutshell, that was what the committee was. We're planning to get back together at the end part of September, early part of October. If anyone is interested in joining, we're still kind of brainstorming with CTA and still coming up with ideas as subcommittee members gather them. So, of course, all feedback is welcomed. And because we're running short of time, I'll just kind of cap it off at there. And if anyone has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
This is Joe. Any questions for Whitney? If not, Whitney, thanks for all your hard work and heading this subcommittee. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next, I want to move on to the facilitators report. So, Amy Serpry, if you would take it from here.
Right. Thank you. I also have a pretty short report. I'll keep it brief. Just thank you, everybody, first of all, for those statement of financial interest forms that we had from last meeting. I got everybody's, yay. And those are turned over to the board office just to keep on file. We're back, as sort of Brian was talking about, getting back into transit. We're also getting back into doing some of the outreach events that we did before. And in May, I was able to do an event at the Schwab Rehabilitation Care Network with their inpatient and outpatient therapy programs. I was there on May 18th, and we had a bus and an instructor there, and people had an opportunity to get on the bus using the ramp, securing their wheelchair, etc., which was really good. Schwab basically has a variety of different people with different disabilities, mostly spinal cord injury, I would say, and most of the people I have are pretty newly disabled. So this was something, there was actually one gentleman was saying, boy, I'm excited to know that I used to use the bus before, but now I'm excited to know that I'll still have the opportunity to be independent, to use it now. So that was kind of exciting. And then we also did, as you've probably heard before, we did the electric bus project in June 26th. I know we're going to move forward a little bit on that discussion. And lastly, I don't know what we're doing for the October meeting, virtual or live. I don't know what the regulations say we have to do, so we will keep you informed. I know that there are people that really like the virtual format, but there may be some Open Meetings Act rules that we have to comply with. So I'll keep you posted. Okay. And that's about it for me. Thanks.
Thanks, Amy. This is Joe. We move on to old business. Any ideas for old business someone wants to speak on?
If it's okay, this is Mike Connolly. I'd actually just like to thank the committee members for the support letters that we got to help us with congressional earmarks. And during the construction report, there was some talk about the ASAP program, but we got 2 earmarks in the bill. They've both been passed in the House. We don't know what's going to happen in the Senate, but we did get $3.37 million for Belmont on the Blue Line, which is in phase 3 of ASAP. So that should let us get started and do some conceptual work and some pre-engineering. And then we got $4.33 million for the Irving Park Blue Line station as well. That's in phase 2. And as Tanisha mentioned, we're actively trying to keep that project moving and get it forward so that we can get moving on the next phase. As she said, it's in phase 2 of that process. So thanks to the committee for your support as we move that earmark process forward. So if that's okay, I don't want to spend too much time on that, but I do want to thank you for your activity. That's really something that has been a hallmark of this committee, is activism and help when we need support. So that's great. Thanks.
Okay, thanks very much, Mike, for that overview. Anyone else with old business?
Yeah, this is Doreen from MLPD. I wanted to know about the next phases for the electric buses. Now I know they read into the record Kelly Pierce's statement, and I'm guessing that all of our comments that were provided at the event were taken note of as well. So I wanted to know where things proceed from here in terms of the comments, and also going from pilot phase to full rollout.
This is Mary. I would just like to say, the problem of lack of noise is a huge issue for all kinds of vehicles, not just electric buses, but it's something that we should address as a community of disabled people. And I don't think that the CTA has the power or the control to force manufacturers or the industry to create noise-making buses. But as a committee, can we ask them to please keep this in mind, and any opportunity they have to advocate, to speak up for options that are really necessary in an effort to keep the disabled community safe, but everybody safe, because it was mentioned earlier about bicyclists. That's a big segment of the population and growing. And now with people being so distracted with their phones and so forth, I think it's more imperative than ever that we have noise-making vehicles. So I would just like to ask, the CTA that whenever they have an opportunity to have input as to what's really, really absolutely needed, this would be one of those things.
Mary, this is Joe. Thank you for your comments. I just want to jump back a minute to what Doreen brought up about sort of the rollout of the e-buses, literally, I guess. Mike or Amy, do you guys have an answer for that? Or
Sure. I guess I will. I'll speak to it. We're in the earliest stages, as was mentioned. We have 6 pilot buses, and we won't. There's 20 buses in that order. And we won't take the delivery of the other 14 until we've been through a summer and a winter season with these 6 that we've got out there. And one of the reasons we're doing that is for this specific purpose, is to see ways that we can improve it. We certainly heard the members who were out when we were looking at those electric buses, and the public comment today as well from Kelly, which is been taken to heart. I know I've had a couple of conversations already with the bus engineering guys, and we've talked about, what can we do? How can we do it? They're looking at how we can equip those buses with an external speaker that would allow us to put some sort of a sound out. I think when we were there at the demo, we were trying to demonstrate a feature that they do have already. If someone is crossing in front of the bus, it would say, this bus is turning, caution, and that kind of thing. And so we're working on some solutions. We're also exploring what's been done in other areas. I know that London, Transport for London has a solution that they're programming, thanks to an article that Joe had sent along to myself and Amy. They're looking at a bus that makes a specific sound when it's below 3 miles an hour. And we'll be following up with them to find out how they're doing that and what they're doing. We also did find out, again, because of an article that Joe had sent along, although I had heard about this from my friends in Milwaukee, that Milwaukee has ordered some electric buses and that they are going to require that they have some sort of an enunciator to make a sound at low speeds, in part to warn people as the bus is pulling into a stop. And that was what was mentioned. The bus does make some noise, but it's certainly very quiet, and potentially we can maybe take the lead. We certainly won't be able to be the ones that will make every Tesla or electric car or electric delivery truck have an enunciator, but maybe we can explore some solutions on the CTA side with our buses that then can become more widespread and go out there. So we're going to take this to heart, and we're going to see what we can do to solve this. In the meantime, we don't have a phase 2 plan lined out yet. We're working on a long range plan for how we will implement going to fully electric buses by the year 2040. Now that's a long time away. It's almost 20 years away. We have 1,868 buses to replace. And we have 8 garages that need to be set out as electric bus garages with charging infrastructure and maintenance infrastructure to handle these buses. So we have a long ways to go to actually have a next step, a solution. Anything that we're doing right now is really just piloting different technologies and different ways of approaching it. One of the things that we're collecting information on is what are the ranges of these buses. And frankly, one of the things we're concerned about is the range good enough in the summer when you have a high air conditioning load consuming a lot of your stored electricity? And will it be adequate in the winter when you have the need for heaters, which also will drain your batteries if you're not careful? So we're at the earliest stages with electric buses. And I appreciate Amy taking the step of setting this up to have a demo day and getting us feedback, because that's important to us as we go forward. So it's not a complete answer for you, Joe, but certainly we've heard the comments and we'll be incorporating them into the planning as we go forward on this.
Great. Thank you, Mike.
This is Michael Kaiser. I think there's been a bill, or maybe it's a rulemaking process, started to require that electric vehicles make some sort of sound and that they not be so quiet in the federal government, although whether that's going to get approved, particularly if it's a bill, I guess is a question.
Thanks for that feedback, Mike. Any more comments, anyone, on old business? If not, we'll move on to new business. If there's anything that you want us to look into presenting for our next meeting in October, you can either let us know now or get in touch with Amy and us in the near future.
This is Michelle. I remember that Bridget had sent a few questions along because she couldn't attend the meeting. I don't know if do you think we should do a few of them now, or maybe just save them for next time, maybe when she's here?
Well, I know some of them I can recall. Michelle, this is Joe. And maybe they can be addressed in a few minutes. I know about masks. Like, she was wondering how often are they replenished on the buses, and are bus operators allowed to assist people with putting them on?
Yeah, and this is Mike. Actually, I'm ready. If it's okay, I'll take a couple of minutes and zip through them. Because I did follow up with staff and I wrote them down, so I have them. The first one was Access Living is getting word from disabled riders of particularly long wait times between buses and trains. What's the CTA's plan to ramp up service now that the city is open? And I guess I'll just start to say we haven't eliminated any routes or made any service cuts in response to COVID. So we don't really have a ramp up period per se coming. We continue to provide as much service as possible. And just like pre-COVID, we certainly do experience service delays due to vehicles having issues, operator unavailability or absenteeism, a sick customer on a train or whatever. And we deal with those on a day-to-day basis. But people should see pretty regular service, and we've got capacity to handle increasing ridership as it comes back. The second question she was asking was, what is the CTA doing to assess and accommodate shifts in weekday travel times given increasing ridership and hybrid work schedules? And actually the answer to that is that it's really too soon to make significant changes to our service based on any hybrid work schedules that we expect to see. The schools are not back in session, and recent surveys show people will not really be returning to the office until September. Some industries have started to move back, but most are planning to do it after Labor Day. As the new normal travel patterns emerge, we'll look at making adjustments to accommodate those travel patterns. But at this point, it's too soon to make any changes to the new normal because we don't think we're quite in the new normal yet. So the third question she asked was, do you have a sense of how many people are honoring the mask mandate on public transit? We've done a series of observations events. The latest one was in late May of this year, of 2021. We did 3 weeks long observations on rail and on bus to track face mask compliance. And we found that over 90% of our customers were fully complying with the federal face mask requirement. Many others had a mask, but weren't wearing it properly over their mouth and nose. We continue to message this face mask requirement, and we've updated our vehicle signage and our audio announcements to make it clear that face masks are still required by all customers, regardless of vaccination status. The next question was, how many masks are being taken and used from the dispensers on CTA buses and at the train stations? Since the program launched in December of 2020, we've distributed over 5 million masks to our customers on our buses and at our train stations. The next question she asked was, late in the day, masks are running out. Are they being replaced throughout the route? We do our best to restock the face masks throughout the day, but it's not always possible. The street supervisors do have extra masks in their vehicles when they're on the road. The operators are told to communicate with the control center if they're running out of masks, and then their manager or a street supervisor with face masks will zip out and give them restocking when they can hit it. Doesn't always happen, but it's the intended action. And so it is working pretty well. I will say I saw an instance on a Milwaukee Avenue bus where the bus I was on stopped and pulled over at a stop. And the driver on the opposite side of the street, who was southbound, honked his horn and waved at him. The two drivers talked out of their windows, and the driver in my bus set his parking brake. He said, "Just a minute, folks." And he went out with his box of masks, and he gave some of his masks to the operator on the other side who was out of masks. So the operators are actually helping each other out on this as much as they can. And then the last question is something that Joe just asked about. If a person with a disability needs assistance with the mask, will or can the drivers or the train operators assist? If it's safe to do so, an operator can always reach into the box and get the mask and hand it to the customer, hand it to the rider there. And that can happen at the rail station as well. Sometimes the bus is out of masks in the box that's sitting on the wheel well, and the operator will have another box up near the front that they can then share. So do ask if you see an empty mask dispenser and somebody needs a mask. The only point that I want to make sure I make is that the bus operator will always pass and getting a mask to the customer, to the from the box and to the customer. If it's out of reach or you can't reach it in your wheelchair because of where it is, ask the operator. They can get you a mask and they'll get it out and get it to you. On the other hand, the operator will not put the mask over your face and nose and put it over your ears. That's really a very personal thing, and it's not something that we've asked the operators to do. So they can always ask for assistance, and the operator will, usually they'll have masks sometimes in their backpack, they'll have a little stack of masks to help them if they run out. But often they have another box that's up on the dashboard besides the box that's in the bus on the wheel wells. So do ask if you need one.
Great. Thank you very much for that information, Mike. It's very helpful. Anyone else? Any questions?
This is Michelle. I have one thing. Sorry to keep it long, guys. So I was wondering, I'm noticing, like, it's just like a security question. I don't know if we can answer it now or maybe next time if, people have dropped off the call. But I've noticed when passing by some bus, terminals and things, there's a lot of, homeless people like sleeping in them. And so it kind of makes it not attractive to get on the bus or maybe not feel so safe to, board the bus when there's like 5 homeless people sleeping there. Just wondering what like the protocol is or what should we do, like if I see that.
And I'll just say you could call it into our customer service folks with the location on there. The other way to do it is to call 311, which is the non-emergency line for the city, and give them the location that there's somebody sleeping. It's happened that we've had people move in. And they move in a shopping cart with a tent and a little hibachi and a cooler full of cold drinks and ice. And we've had to kind of work together with the city and with the agencies. I think Brian Steele mentioned that we have a hotline with the agencies that are working with the services here in town to try to get those folks help. It's not always possible to do it. Sometimes the person will resist, but we'll always take whatever action we can. And so it helps to follow up. If you don't mind, that would be great, Michelle. Okay.
Sure. Thank you. Okay.
To piggyback on that, what about if they're on the train?
If they're on a train, you're just like sleeping on the train. It doesn't hurt. Yes, it doesn't hurt for you to use the call button on the train and let the train operator know. I'll usually wait until we get to the station and I'll go up to the front car and tell the operator they've got somebody sleeping in their third car number 5241, so that they know what it is. And then they'll radio ahead, and then either somewhere intervening or at the end of the line, we'll get somebody to come and meet that train and get that person off of that car.
Yeah, Forest Park clears the entire train when they get there of a morning. I just didn't know if there was any method to minimize the people sleeping on the train or just wait till the end of the line, which is fine.
This is something that every system in the country is struggling with, with the homeless. And part of it goes back to the closing of the mental health services facilities, the residential mental health services facilities, and the moving people out of where they were getting help into places where they're out on the street instead. And I don't know that anybody has a magic wand to make. No,
you're right.
I was just going to say, excuse me, this is Amy. Another thing you can do, if you're uncomfortable, you can't get to the rail operator, you don't want to press the button. When you get to the station that you get off at, tell the CSA at that station, because they can radio into control. They can tell other people. If that's
they know that. They do that. The blue line just seems to be like a hotel though.
Some days that's my experience as well.
Yeah. No, I was just curious. I've grown comfortable with it and I'm fine with it. I just didn't know if there was proper methodologies.
Yeah.
Any more questions, anyone? If not, thanks for your patience, and I'll turn it back over to Michelle. This is Joe, by the way. Back over to Michelle for our adjournment.
Okay, here, what we've all been waiting for, guys. This is Michelle. So the next meeting is going to be Tuesday, October 12th. And as Amy said, we don't know if it's going to be virtual or not. Hopefully, we would have a hybrid option available because not everybody can be in person, but I would love to see everyone in person. That'd be nice. So mark your calendars and need a motion for adjournment, guys.
Motion to adjourn, Robertson.
All right. Thank you, Nicholas. And anyone second? Whitney second. Thank you so much. And I guess we are adjourned, you guys. Thanks for your patience. Have a great rest of the
You got to vote and time.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Voted. It's been a long afternoon. So everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you, guys. And
wait, and what's the time? You got to announce the time, please.
4:33.
Thank you.
4:33.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks, guys. appreciate